All right, guys, we are live. So we have an awesome debate panel for you today. This is actually the second one of the day. The first one was at 4 p.m. and Maddie hosted it. I watched part of it. Looks like it went well. But yeah, I've been having some health issues, so it was hard for me to do it at 4 p.m. But anyway, so this is a part. We got also Torsia joining in about 10 minutes. So we got TomFoolery. You guys know him. He's been on the channel a bunch of times. Andrew, obviously, you guys know him. Lav has only been on the channel once. But you guys will, I guess, get to hear her views today. And Michael's been on a bunch of times, so you probably know a lot about him. We will do all the plugs at the end, but let's start talking about the topic. So basically, there's two debate topics that we're going to be talking about. The first one is it wrong to have an age gap in relationships? Meaning, is it wrong for a 50-year-old man to date an 18-year-old woman? Like, think Leonardo DiCaprio. That will be the first topic. The second topic, to give you guys a preview, is going to be, are promiscuous men and women less valuable to society? So we're going to start with the first one. You guys know how I do this. I'm generally going to be hands off, not really say much unless, of course, one person either can't get a word in, or the other option, if someone's really, really trying to avoid the topic or not answering any question. Those are the only times I will come in. I might come in if I feel like I can clarify something with a question, but that's going to be about it. Okay, so typically the way we do this is we do a quick opening statement. We'll just go in order. So, Tom, I'll let you have, take as long as you need. I generally try to keep them under 2 or 3 minutes, but I'm not going to be a Nazi about it. So, again, is it wrong to have a massive age gap in relationships, like a 50-year-old man with like a 19 to 18-year-old woman?
So yeah, I don't think it's like objectively wrong. I think that there
Holy
are
shit!
lots
Can you
of...
turn your mic down, dude?
Whoa. Is my
blow our
mic loud?
fucking eardrums out with
It's
that shit.
pretty loud. It's pretty loud.
Is it?
I can't change it. You'll have to change it, Alex.
I'll modify it. Okay, this is better.
Turn them down by like 50%.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think age gaps are objectively wrong. I think that there are a lot of dangers that come with age gaps, though. I've had numerous relationships with 10-year age gaps, so I'm not completely against them, but I do kind of put a lot of restrictions on those relationships normally, because me having a lot more experience, me being a lot older, normally making more money, having my own career set up, having my own stability, kind of gives me a huge advantage on this person and gives me the ability to easily manipulate them in a lot of different ways. So I think that as long as you put restrictions on the relationship and the two of you have these conversations about the dangers of the relationship and agree on those things, then everything should be fine.
Okay, cool. Andrew, you're up, my man.
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if a 60-year-old man marries an 18-year-old girl. I don't give a shit. As long as they're reproducing, I don't care. There's not a single moral argument that you can make. Not one. There's not one. It's impossible. You can't say that society claims that these people are adults. They're adults. They can be drafted. They can make all of their own reasonable decisions and then go, but you're so fucking stupid, you can't decide who you're going to get married to. You can't decide that, though, because you're too fucking dumb. It's like, dude, that's the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. I don't know where leftists and progressives come up with this shit, but it's nonsense. That's nonsense. Total nonsense.
Andrew, quick clarifying question before we go to Michael. Do you think that a relationship with like an older guy and a younger girl is just from like a pragmatic perspective better, worse, or the same as a relationship where two people are the same age?
In some ways, it's a lot better. So all of them are going to have their own ups and downs, but in a lot of ways, I'm sure it's a lot better. It's very much better for the woman and probably very much better for the man. In many ways, he probably wants a young, hot chick, and she's going to give him lots and lots of kids, and he probably has a ton of money. So, I mean, I don't see what the problem is.
Okay, cool. Let's go next to Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is, for me, I think 18 was too young, personally. But that's me personally. I don't have a moral argument against it, but I think 18 is probably the point where I think it might be too young. But I think the issue is, obviously, you probably brought me on this debate because my girlfriend is 24 years younger than me.
I actually didn't know Michael. I had no idea until you texted me that.
Okay. Yeah. So she and we have a lot of in common. We're both into animal rescue. We're both into SEC football. We're both into the gym heavily. And we have a lot of stuff in common. So I think one of the issues is going to be back what Tom said before. There are studies that show with like May-December marriages where men are more likely. And this is also Dr. David Buss talks about this in his evolutionary psychology books, where he talks about men are more likely to be more of a mate guarding person when there's a huge disparity between age. But they'll also find There's another question you should ask, Alex, which is, I think, a secondary question, is it natural for older men to want to date younger women and vice versa? Because in every society, Dr. David Buss's 37 culture study he did in 1989, he showed that in all cultures, as men climbed the socioeconomic ladder, the difference between their age and their wife's age increased in all cultures. That is Mexico, Norway, the Yanomamo tribes of South America, Russia, and the United States. In all cultures, they found that to be the case. So it's one of these situations where one of my issues is we're going to talk about, is it healthy or is it moral? It seems to be when women want to date older men, and numerous studies show that they do. Now, how much older? 3 years is just generally the number that we see. Sometimes maybe 10, maybe 20. But when women want to date older men, that is judged by society to be a healthy preference. When men want to date younger women, that is judged by society to be creepy. And I think that is a moral and a huge double standard. So I think that's the issue. If you have two people, I'll tell you, like my girlfriend now, if we were the same age, she would not have probably been interested in me. Now it's one of these situations where I wasn't ready to settle down and to be in a relationship and to consider things like marriage and kids until the age I was now. And that's where she is in her life. And so from a reproductive standpoint, it's actually a lot easier for her if she wanted to have kids now, or like say in the next 5 years, and for me to do it at the same time. We're at the same place as far as our I don't know what the word I'm looking, relationship journey. I think we're at the same place in our lives. For me, it just came a little later than other people. But the other thing is, most people don't think I'm 46 years old. Most people, when they meet me, think I'm like 33. And I've chosen to keep myself in really good shape. And so that is another reason why we have a lot in common. So I think it is contextual. But like Andrew said, I don't see a moral reason, specifically ad hoc for any 50-year-old man to date any 25-year-old woman. I don't think that there's a specific moral reason to deny that.
Same follow-up question. You mentioned that what the reality is, but I guess I will ask you the odd. Do you think it's better from a pragmatic perspective, worse, or the same as a relationship with people of the same age?
Yeah, so it's impossible because I lived from I used to be an option. I used to work for a brokerage as an option seller. I live in statistics, and the answer is it's within one standard deviation. I think it's good, but I think you can have bad examples of where you have. I think you can have two people of the same age and they be in an unhealthy relationship. And I think you can have an older man who's been through a lot of trials and tribulations. And I think one of the reasons why my relationship works with Kylie is because I've had situations where communication has broken down with a woman, or we've gotten into irrational fights and arguments. And I explained to her, these are my experiences. And in order for us to make it 75 years like my grandparents did, these are the things that we're going to have to do as far as communication is concerned. And she can choose to listen or not listen. And that's the issue that happens, because I do have a lot more experience. But like Tom said, am I using my experience to as leverage to manipulate her? A manipulative person would manipulate you if they were 25 and 21, or if they were 45 and 21. It's a manipulative person is manipulative. I don't think age is necessarily the issue. As much as money could be the issue, I think it's just as likely. I just don't think what I'm saying is I meet people throughout my life who are at different psychological ages and different levels of maturity, and it doesn't have that much to do with their actual chronological age. So I don't think you can just say it's better or worse. I think two mature individuals having a relationship together, that's healthy, and two not mature individuals having a relationship together is toxic. It doesn't matter what age they are.
It seems like you're agnostic on it, basically. It's not better or worse. It just depends on the.
Well, I think most relationships right now are failing, period. So it's not, I don't know necessarily it's a function of age.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, Lab, you are up.
I think it's case by case. I think generally my opinion is probably that if you are an older man trying to date a younger woman, you're creepy. And I think the same thing with like an older woman trying to date a younger man. Like, I just think you're creepy. I think that the power differential, I mean, that's why I say case by case, right? Like if you're someone like a celebrity, like Billie Eilish dated a Jesse Rutherford, who's only like, I think 14 years older than her, but they're at about the same place in their career and make about the same amount of money and can't really, so that makes a little bit more sense to me. That's like less creepy and weird. I mean, I even feel my fiance is only 5 years older than me, and I can feel it. Like it's felt in the relationship, just like even with like funny videos or shows that we used to watch. And, we had the conversation earlier in our relationship, like he'd only ever dated women his same age or women older than him. And he didn't ever think that he'd date someone. We met when I was 21. He didn't ever think that he'd he'd date someone as young as me, but because I already had an established career, made my own money, I'd been living on my own for 6 years. It was just like a different dynamic. Yeah, so I think that overall, I think the biggest problem is not just the power dynamic in the age, like the exact age, but just how much life you've been able to live and how much influence you can have, like monetarily, like financial influence, or just emotional manipulation. Like young women and young men are very naive, and I don't see that as a positive thing. Maybe, people like Andrew probably think it's a positive thing to be able to lead your very naive woman who just follows you around, but I don't necessarily think that that's a positive thing. So
okay.
Well, Leah, I'm curious.
Wait, Michael, real quick before and then it'll be open panel. You can go first. So just to quickly sum it up for the chat. So it seems like, and you guys stop me if I'm wrong about your characterization, it seems like Andrew's saying from a pragmatic perspective, it's probably better. Michael and Tom are like, case by case, it's neutral, and Lav is saying, no, it's worse. So am I summing everyone's positions correctly?
Well, I think it's case by case, but I think generally.
But you also think it's creepy.
I think there should be a social stigma against it.
Okay. So
Yes.
so that would be your the negative position. Okay, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, Lav. So my question is, from my experience when I deal with younger women, I don't find that it's them being manipulated more than I see them manipulating men. So that's why I kind of have an issue with this. Like, young, hot women are the ones being manipulated. I'm looking at a $6 billion industry of OnlyFans, and I'm not seeing it's the young, hot women that are being manipulated. I see them manipulating men.
This is going to turn into a much bigger issue if you get me started on the OnlyFans thing, because when I see women sell themselves out and hoard themselves out to men, I think that they're victims. So I think that is disgusting. I think it's dysgenic. And I think that OnlyFans preys on young women who have terrible backgrounds. And yeah, sure, they're making money, but at the cost of what?
Okay,
right?
but at the same time, let's completely throw OnlyFans out of it. Women going on dates with men, or like, for instance, dating apps. Women will do 6,000 left swipes before they swipe right once. They find 80% of men on dating apps to be unattractive, and there's several studies that show women are on there not even to date, just to get attention from men. My point is, going back to what I was saying before, from my experience, when I'm seeing 26%
do you
of men,
think that we should teach women that getting attention from men is the end all be all, or do you think that that's something?
Well, I mean, do you think that we should teach society
genetics.
that all of their morality is going to come from
think
what
you
you
can
find
say that's
creepy?
genetics.
From what you find creepy?
Well, no,
I find it
didn't say-
creepy. I find it creepy. Thank God. Well, Leah finds it creepy. The debate's over, so we'll go. Why don't you make an actual argument for it? Make an argument against
Well,
it. I'd like to hear one. What is it? What's the actual argument?
If you have too much power, so if you've accumulated like a ton of wealth in your lifetime, then you can financially manipulate your young wife or girlfriend who barely makes any money, and now she's in a relationship where she can't leave because you make so much money, and she thinks that her life is made, and she puts up with so much more.
That poor
potentially
woman.
Abuse.
That
potentially
poor woman.
abuse.
That poor
because
wait. That
of the-
poor.
Isn't that
Wait.
her
Let me make sure I got
manipulating
this
him
right. Let
now?
me make sure I got this right. The poor woman who was living behind a dumpster, who was elevated by the older man, and now feels like she can't
think
leave
the only
because
thing
she
that
has
matters
it.
is money?
Let me finish. Because now she has it made in the shade. She just feels like, oh, I can't leave anymore because my life is just too good from the crack shack that this guy elevated me out of. That
If
poor
the
woman.
only
laughed.
thing that matters is money, then sure, that absolutely stands. But if you want a partner who emotionally nourishes you, who sees you as an equal, and who's going to raise
want equals.
healthy and successful kids with you, that's not what you want. You
What
don't want.
woman- no,
you don't
that's
want
bull-
to give children to a man who's
Men do
abusive.
not
You don't
want
to live in
equals.
that.
If we wanted masculine,
You
strong,
don't want
tough,
equals.
hey, no.
You do not want an
listen.
equal.
If men wanted masculine, strong, tough women, they'd all be gay. Laugh.
I'm not talking about equal, and
They don't want equals. Laugh.
We've talked about this before.
They want
Andrew.
submissive
It's
women. Laugh.
Equal dominion over the earth, not exactly equal in stature and ability. It's equal. We complete each other. We're yin and yang.
Would you say you and your fiance are equals?
Yeah, I think that we are equals.
Okay. I don't want to.
No, you took it personal. You can.
Okay, isn't he like a CEO of a major company? Like you're, I don't. What are you doing? Like that?
Well, I'm actually just starting a podcast this week. It's called Bloodbath. It's with a girl called Emily Wilson. Emily Saves America. First episode is going to come out next week. But I've created my own social media empire. I have amassed almost 1 million followers on social media. I took myself out of poverty, abject poverty. Now I mostly just like to be like a housewife because I don't want to work and I don't really have to work. But still, I make sure that the bills are paid, obviously with the money that, my fiance brings in. But I'm basically I run the house. I run the domestics. I make sure that everything is clean.
Why is that not creepy?
What do you mean?
Well, I think that's creepy. Tell me why I'm wrong. It just makes me feel like it's icky.
For what about?
Why is that wrong? Just all of it. Just everything about it makes me.
I guess
feel
you're
icky.
entitled to your own opinion, Andrew.
Is that the extent of your argument too? That you just feel like it's icky? It's icky?
If you do not have the IQ to understand something that I've already explained to you, I'm not going to sit here.
You didn't actually explain a moral argument. You said there was a power dynamic issue.
I'm not making a moral argument. I'm making.
Then why did we care?
Argument.
If it's not an ought claim to morals, why should we care?
You don't have to.
Why should anybody take your ought seriously then?
You don't have to.
This
is a fucking web show, Andrew.
So nobody should take your ought claim seriously.
Why should we take yours seriously?
Well, because if I make a claim,
you're waffling right now.
If I make a claim and absolutely nobody can refute it with any type of moral imperative for why you ought not do that, then I think you should just accept the claim.
Andrew, I already gave you my example, which is that if you can financially or emotionally manipulate your much younger partner. Based off of what you have amassed in your lifetime.
Why is that wrong? Why is that wrong?
I think abuse is typically wrong.
That's not abuse.
Okay.
Why is that abuse?
Well, I guess debate
what
over.
You consider some weird form of what is the manipulation? What does that look like in this? And what is the manipulation? Like he's older and wiser, so he says you can have X amount of allowance per week.
Let me put this into perspective. I do think the situation changes once you're married. So I think once you have a legal obligation to your partner and that you guys are under, law, I think that's why prenups are good.
Now it's not creepy anymore because a state contract is involved. Now that there's a state contract, the creepiness is out the window, Lav?
Yeah, I think that once you protect young women from powerful men, that's less creepy.
How are they protected?
By something like alimony.
Oh, okay. So as long as
your husband starts to beat you,
as long as they get paid.
If your husband starts to beat you and you haven't worked for 10 years because your man picked you up when you were 17, 18, and you know nothing else, and then suddenly you have nothing, you can't leave, you can't get an apartment because your husband or your boyfriend has all the finances.
You're beholden to your own choices. That's terrible, Lav.
So you think that women who are beat should stay?
I don't think that. I think that is you're loading it now. Now you're changing the goalpost and saying now they're getting beaten.
We're talking
specifically. No, you said specifically this. What if she's dependent on his income? So what? And then she no longer wants to be. She no longer wants to be. Okay, beaten is grounds for leaving anybody anywhere at any time.
Yes, but you're less likely to leave if you are financially dependent on that man.
Okay, do you think that what's going on is that women are leaving men because they're getting beaten? That's the core reason for why they're leaving men? Like, what are you talking about?
I'm not saying that this is I'm not saying this is applicable to every single person. I'm saying that
most? Is it even applicable to most
Probably
people?
not.
No,
and
I
don't think every scenario is creepy. But I think also first thing that I'm like, when a man is like, oh, I want like a young woman. I think that he wants someone that he can control. And that's
sure. It's not because she's young and hot and he wants to have lots of sex with. That's not it. It's because he wants to control her. Not because men are attracted to. Hang on, Lav. Hang on.
With a 26-year-old.
Would you agree or disagree? Agree or disagree? Older men like to have sex with young hot women. Agree or disagree?
Agree, and you can also be a 25 or 26-year-old who's super hot.
Lav, what possible alternative incentive could a man possibly have other than control and manipulation to want to have sex with a young hot woman all the time? Could there be any other incentive besides control and manipulation you could think of there?
You're getting a little hairy though. The younger you get, what's stopping people from marrying a 16-year-old?
Well, there's standards. There's moral standards for that.
Why moral standard from 16 to 18? Does the brain change significantly in those 2 years?
No. It's because there actually has to be some arbitrary, and there it is. Every side will agree that there's an arbitrary. Stop. There's an arbitrary.
So my arbitrary line is 25.
You haven't even let me start yet. No, it's not 25. You're
To
not
me, it is.
advocating. You're not advocating that only 25-year-olds get married. And if you are, it's only because you're banking on some type of brain.
50-year-olds.
It's because you're only banking on some kind of like absurd brain development thing where you say their brain doesn't fully develop until they're 25. But here's the thing. Some of their brains do develop before they're 25. That's one. Two, when you look at the brain
Case
itself,
by case.
they don't get that much more intelligent between the ages of 20 and 25. And let's not
They
forget
do
this.
between 18 and 25.
Since there is this kind of arbitrary starting point, and it's once we establish that it's 18, it's not arbitrary anymore. There's a system in place. Now we're not talking about an arbitrary system.
So why is it 18 then?
It's 18 because we have to have a starting point.
Okay, but why can't we just say it's 14?
Some states, God help us, have said that.
Okay, well,
But
why is
there's
that wrong? God
there's
help us, why is that
universal-
wrong?
There's
By
universal.
your logic, why is that wrong?
There's
They
universal.
arbitrarily
I just
picked
told you
14.
there's universal moral agreement on this. So unless you're going to make the moral case that it should be lowered, because
Okay,
I'm
so
not.
unless
you're gonna make the moral case that it should
People
be
have
low.
agreed.
Stop. I'm saying it's moral that we have a starting point where the human female is at least to the point of full development. And that is,
be
I
fully
think,
developed at
arguably.
15.
No, I don't think you can be.
You absolutely can.
But
Two years
in any
after your first
case,
menses.
if we
It
start
could be
there,
as young as 13.
if we start there,
Leah,
Lav,
Leah, can we come on your podcast?
Hang on. Lav, are we going to make a moral? Are you going to make the moral argument that we should lower the age of consent?
No, I think
Okay,
that
well
it
then
should be...
their whole point's moot.
No, I think
Let's also
Your
let
whole point's
to
moot.
me it's not arbitrary at 25. We have
Yes,
actual
let's also
scientific
let-
proof that the brain is done developing at 25.
Guys. Let's also let some of the other people get a word in because they've been silent for like literally 10 minutes, and then you can obviously continue this line of questioning after that. So yeah, Tom, Michael, do you want to add anything to this?
Michael,
Yeah,
you
Leah,
said
my
earlier-
question,
Actually,
Go ahead,
go ahead. No. Go ahead.
Leah, my question was, so the financial manipulation thing. So I have some friends of mine. Obviously, this is not the majority, but I have some friends of mine that make a lot of money here in Las Vegas. They're females, and they specifically date men who make a lot less money than them, specifically so that they get like male strippers or VIP hosts because they can control them.
Yeah.
But there's not a big age difference. And my whole thing is like, let's just say you have a woman, she's divorced, she's 35 years old, she has 2 kids, and she's in a dire financial strait, and she's married to a wealthy man. I just don't think age is the problem. If you have a disparity of wealth, that's a disparity of wealth.
I don't think it is usually either. I'm just saying that you are more likely to in that
Sure.
age gap. So that's why I'm saying it's case by case. Like,
Okay.
I think it's up for scrutiny always.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And then my other issue
What
was,
does that, wait, what does that
go ahead.
mean? Up for scrutiny?
Like we should scrutinize. We should look closer at
Who's
those
we?
relationships.
Who's we should?
Like we as a people,
I mean, it's just everybody.
society.
Just
yeah.
like the
Yeah,
guy
I would say
down the road.
society.
The guy down
These
the
should be,
road.
like, red
who's like,
flags,
hey,
right?
you're with an older dude. I'm going to look into that.
Yeah, I think we should look out for our neighbor.
You're going to look into their personal relationship.
If
Lav?
I hear my neighbor screaming and the sound of her husband beating her, I'm probably going to call the police.
You wouldn't
yeah.
look into that if they were of the same age bracket, Lav?
No, of course I would.
Of
I'm
course
just
you
saying
would.
that we
So I
should
don't know-
look
I don't
out
know what
for
this means
fellow
then.
Man, right?
Yeah, I don't know why this means specifically we
You
would be
have-
scrutinizing.
You're like oppositionally defiant today.
I would say that it
Andrew.
is a red
Are you on your
flag, like,
period?
I would say that
Do
it
you
is a
even
red
have
flag.
periods anymore?
Wait, guys,
I'm
let's-
free
wait,
bleeding
guys. My whole thing was like, hey, let's hear from the other guests, and then somehow it went back to this. I can tell you guys have a lot of contention, so I promise I will give you guys ample time. But let's let
I would
Tom
say that
finish.
it is a red flag. Like generally, but it's not going to be my neighbor. I don't even know my freaking neighbors. But like my friends, my family, like I would be a
That's a
bit more
problem.
worried about them, and I would care more. Like so let's say somebody is dating my sister, and age matters, right? If my sister's like 25 and she's dating somebody 45, I don't care so much anymore. But if she's like 18 or below 25, I think it matters a lot more. And so if she's dating somebody that's 20 years older than her, and he wants her to like leave her family, move away, she, get away from her friends, she's going to lose a lot of the support that she would have to hopefully like hold her accountable against somebody who's going to be abusive.
Tom, if you were to find data which were to show that homosexuals disproportionately molested boys, would you be more likely to scrutinize them about
Yes,
adoption and
the
things
Boy
like
Scouts
that, Tom?
did that. The Boy Scouts did that.
Stop,
And it was
Laugh.
great.
Is your name Tom, Laugh? So anyway, Tom, would you be more likely to scrutinize them based on that, Tom?
It depends on how big of a difference it is, but probably if it's
You would?
it would be
You would
something
be
that
so you would be looking at your neighbor who was a homosexual who adopted a kid and be like,
I said I
should
would
look
not be
into that.
looking at. I said I wouldn't be looking at neighbors, but like friends and family, people that I'm already checking in on, people that I already care
Okay, now
about.
what about you, Lav? Would you be like, I don't know about you gays over there who have adopted that kid. That's
So the Boy
I'm
Scouts
not
had
sure
an
about
initiative
that.
because there were so
I asked
many.
you. I don't care about what the Boy Scouts did. What about Lav? What's Lav going to do?
I am in favor of institutions like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean that might actually be based, Lav. I don't know. Like that might be the first base thing you've said tonight. So.
I don't think that we should give like sex workers kids either. Like if they're in active sex work, yeah, I think that's probably like a bad thing.
Can we
Who's
just take
giving them kids?
Yeah, like I don't think that people in
the
who are
seed of the men they hump
prostitutes be able to adopt. Right? Like people who are actively prostitutes probably also shouldn't be able to have like IVF. We should control society a little bit more. I think I'm a little more authoritarian.
Wait, Lav, are you doing the eugenics thing now?
Am I, dude? To say that it's eugenics to want a better society and to have children with people who you think will give better offspring, if that's
sounds
eugenics,
sounds very
ethno.
That's not eugenics.
Sounds very
Eugenics would be
ethno-nationalist to me.
Eugenics would be literally I am looking at the genetic of a certain thing and saying, well, because this person has brown eyes instead of blue, I'm going to terminate the embryo. That's actual eugenics.
Yes.
Is that what you're in favor of?
I realize that. No, I'm not in favor of that. But Andrew is he thinks that anyone who even just like is picky and choosy, women who are picky and choosy with who they give kids to, is like a problem.
Oh, so you're just making shit up now, or?
No, we've had this conversation before.
When did I say in that conversation that any woman who picks and chooses who she wants to reproduce with is bad?
I said if I remember correctly, I said
you don't remember correctly because what you just said is absurd.
I said the word dysgenic, and you were like, "Oh, you're a eugenicist now," and I was like, "I guess so." Oh,
Leah, can I ask you a question real quick? What is the obviously?
Okay, hang on, Michael. I can't let her get away with this. So
don't let her get away with it.
So, Lav, are you going to go ahead and correct the record that I never said that women shouldn't be able to choose who they reproduce with? Because that never came out.
You don't think women are the sexual selectors? You had a problem with me saying that.
No, women do control who gets to reproduce and who doesn't.
You don't think they should?
When you say that they're a sex selector, though, what I'm talking about specifically is that men inside of a hierarchical society, right? If we chose to, we could make sure that women had no choice. That was my point.
You are correct, Andrew. Thank you.
I know I'm correct.
What were you going to say, Michael?
So I mean, I think we would agree. Like maybe there's a difference between 18 and 38, but is there a difference between 30 and 50? What I'm saying is that 20-year gap can be different. And I'm curious, once we get to like say age 25 or all bets off, she could date like a 60-year-old and you wouldn't have an issue with it.
I think so. Yeah, I think about 25.
So 25
when the brain is fully developed, I think it's up for less scrutiny. I think when there's still like a teen in your age, that's a problem. But yeah, after 30, absolutely. Usually by 30, you have an established career, and if you don't, you're sort of just like.
And how many breeding years do you have left?
At 30?
Mm-hmm.
About 5.
Yeah. And you think that that's healthy for a society that can't currently reproduce
itself? So you're the eugenicist. So
that's not eugenics. That would be the opposite of eugenics.
You still get plenty of good eggs.
That would be the opposite of eugenics. That would be
progenics.
That would be progenic.
For 5 years, you are still are giving very good quality eggs, and you're also probably way more apt to be a parent.
And as more women have waited until they're in their 30s in order to start having children, what's happened to the reproduction rate inside of all Western nations, Lav?
It drops below what you.
It drops below replacement rates, not what I would like it to be, but just to replace you and the other person.
So we won't get Social Security.
No, it's not just that you won't get Social Security.
We have a better offspring. But we have a better offspring.
Laugh. North Korea and Japan, they won't be there. North Korea won't be there in 100 years. It's gone because they can't reproduce.
Okay.
Do you know what this does drastically to the human race?
The U.S. becomes the biggest world power without any.
Yeah. Do you know that the U.S. also is not reproducing? So what happens is you just have to bring in endless amounts of migrants to replace the population of the United States.
Yeah.
Endlessly.
We could party with migrants.
Yeah, but you're not listening to what I'm saying to you. If their reproduction rates go below replacement, our reproduction rates go below replacement, then human beings start to decrease as a population on planet Earth. That's a big problem, huge problem.
No, and then the Earth heals.
The Earth heals.
Yes.
You mean the people who are out there planting all of those trees because it's a continuous source of renewed energy, a source of renewal,
Can you
period?
imagine housing costs would be way lower? Holy shit.
No, they wouldn't. What would happen is you would just have a consolidation of land inside of the hands of very few people. That's what happened before.
I want to redirect.
That's what happened before, Lav. That's what feminism was trying to fight, Lav. It's trying to fight land barons and shit like that to stop the evil patriarchy from consolidating too much of that land, because that's what they were doing.
Okay, wait, real quick.
I don't think that's a one-to-one.
Hang on, please. So I want to bring back to the initial topic, because right now we're talking about like replacement rate and like.
Yeah, Andy's on his period.
So, hang on. I'm not trying to like blame someone. I'm just saying like a fact. So let's go back to the initial topic. Like again, I kind of let it go for a little bit because it seemed like it was relevant, but I feel like now it's just, you know, kind of going on side tangents. So anyway, whoever, let's also again give Tom and Michael a chance to get a few words in. Yeah, if they have any.
Oh, come on, they come for blood, Alex, right?
That is true. And I'm sitting here watching. I'm sitting here watching. No, I mean, I'm just trying to understand your argument. Now, here's the thing I will say that's refreshing about your argument, Leah, is that you are not a 37-year-old woman telling us that it's creepy. You're a younger woman telling us that it's creepy. I don't agree with you that it's creepy. One of the issues that I've seen, and maybe you'll agree with me on this, is that women who made really, really poor choices in their life, they get to an older age and then they're not being chosen by the men who previously chose them before, or they're getting to hang out with those men, even having sex with those men, but those men aren't choosing them for long-term relationships. And that bitterness then leads for them to go on TikTok and other social media platforms and say things like Leah, what's her name? Mia Khalifa said, older men who date younger women have a mental disorder, things like that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Everything Mia Khalifa's ever said is complete. I hope we put one of those witch cages on Mia Khalifa.
For sure. But you understand what I'm saying? That there are some women in this space who might be saying what they're saying out of cope, out of the fact that they're just not getting chosen anymore. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, I think I have a problem with the whole. I don't think that men should be choosing women. I think that women should be choosing men, and we should stop having sex with men unless we're married, or at least engaged. At least engaged. And so then men can't choose us anymore. They just have to deal with it. They just have to deal with whether or not we choose to have sex with them and give them children.
Laugh, can you quickly clarify that, because it's an interesting point that you're making. What do you mean exactly when you say that women shouldn't be choosing men should be choosing, or something along the lines of that?
I think women are the sexual selectors in society, and because we hold the key, we hold the portal to the other world in our wombs, and God has given us that bigger calling, or whoever you believe in, we have this bigger calling from the world, and men. I think that men are very useful in society. I think that they are protectors, but what they're protecting is the womb, essentially. What they're protecting is the feminine mystique in some way. And so, yeah, I think that women have more keen senses, smell, sight, even higher, stuff like that, to choose the best mate to give the best offspring.
I'm still honestly a bit confused. So, like, would you then say that like a guy approaching a girl on the street, if she didn't give him like any choosing signals, is wrong? Or
no? I think no, I don't think so at all. I think that you should try to, if there's like a hot girl, you should definitely try to talk to her.
She's talking about power dynamics, Alex.
It's up to a woman to decide whether or not to give you children.
Yeah, she's saying that women are more powerful if they gatekeep sex and they gatekeep their womb, which is true. They become much more powerful in society. That's what she's saying. Okay. Right, Lav? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anyway, Michael, you were saying something before that?
No, I've just asked her a question, and that's I thought that was
a little tangent. That was a little tangent, sorry. But
Tom, is there any questions that you want to ask or build on?
I guess one of the things is like I don't, Michael, you were saying earlier that like a manipulative person is going to be manipulative whether it's at like 21 or 41. I don't know that it even has to be purposefully manipulative, which is why I was talking about putting barriers on the relationship earlier. Like, I think that you are generally a lot more capable and ready to do a lot of things when you're older that younger people aren't, and you just might not be mindful of that. Like you're more.
I just found like a moral grounding I didn't have when I was 21 years old. Like I was like when I was Dr. Buss in his evolutionary psychology class. No, it wasn't Dr. Buss. It was a different evolutionary psychologist. Was asking the men in the class. It was like, hey, how many of you have ever lied to a woman and said that you're more willing to be in a relationship in order to have sex with them? And something like 73% of the men said yes. And then they asked the women, how many times have you been lied to in order for a man to try to have sex with you? Or I think the question was love bombed. And it was something like 89% of the women said that they had done something like that. I don't think it's a function of age. I think really attractive women, and a lot of times that has to do with youth, have the ability to manipulate every bit as much as a man with money, every bit as much. And as they are younger, may actually have more of an ability to manipulate and or more likely to, because they don't have the moral grounding at that point. Maybe they don't have children. Maybe they're just I just know so many catch me outside. How about that type of like Danielle Bregoli type women who are just like, don't give a fuck in the first place. And they're just willing to go at it and do whatever they have to do to manipulate men and think that it's funny. So I just don't, my argument is, whereas I can see maybe there's some argument there, but the argument of manipulation, I just see it going both ways. I've seen, if you were to ask me right now, with 26% of men under the age of 30 being virgins and 33% of men under the age of 30 having like 0 sexual partners in the last year, if you were to ask me from that standpoint, who's being manipulated more, it seems like there's a small group of women sleeping with, or a large group of women sleeping with a small group of men, and a large group of men having very few options, and they are the ones actually being manipulated. And while we could have a debate on whether or not OnlyFans is manipulating women, which we could definitely have that debate. The fact of the matter is men are still paying for it. And so that shows to me a lack of abundance and a high level of desperation, which would allow them to be more easily manipulated. So that's why I just don't necessarily, I think
that would make sense if men weren't creating the market for that. I think that would make sense if men weren't actively creating the market.
Doesn't matter
because a lot of women do not. I don't think that anyone. I mean, if you're a sex worker, your life is not good. Like you're not happy.
But women are providing the service.
So I'm not going to argue about the sex workers.
What does power mean? So like a comfortable life with like, I don't know what power means in this case. Then if sex workers or young sex workers have power over men,
I don't mean sex workers.
They want them. Like,
I'm sorry. I meant to say just young, attractive women. I was using OnlyFans as a.
Then what is power in this case? Because certainly not political power, certainly not financial power. So I don't sexual power, which can get a man to do a lot, admittedly. But truthfully, outside of that relationship dynamic, even in the world, a 40-year-old man has much more power generally than a 18-year-old woman. Immeasurably so.
Immeasurably, unless she is the one who manipulates that powerful 40-year-old man.
But when you're talking about manipulating,
to get like a purse or shoes.
Well, the majority of murder over the course of human history has been men killing other men over resources and women. So, like, there is a manipulation there. Not manipulation, but the level of control that a woman can have over a man, which was my only argument, by the way, was I think equal to the manipulation that a man can have over a woman. And I also think it's a small group of men that have that wealth enough to do that. Whereas what
Lav is saying is true, right? So what Lav is saying is that ultimately force or raw power stays with men. So the question really, I guess, ultimately for this becomes, without the simp, does the whore have any power? Does the prostitute have any power without the John? And the answer is no, they don't.
I don't think so.
I mean, with the John, they don't have any fucking power. It's a false sense of power.
Well, I don't even think that it's lasting, though. Like, when we're talking about them manipulating with lust, thankfully men have post-nut clarity, so it's not very long-lasting. But on top of that, like porn industry and all these other things,
she wants to come on your show, Lab.
No, wait, Tom. In a virtuous society, men would recoil. They recoil in horror from those types of displays from women or from other men inside of virtue-based societies. It's literally revolting.
Sure, but I'm talking about from a pragmatic sense.
This is a pragmatic sense. Most nations have decency laws. Most nations have decency laws where if a display like that is done, the population recoils in horror at the display.
Michael, if you want to have your girlfriend weigh in, feel free. It's fine.
No, she has to go. She's judging the bikini competition, ironically. So she has to actually leave.
Hell
Okay.
yeah.
I'm arguing that I don't think us watching porn or paying for porn is us being manipulated at high rates. I think we just have much higher sex drives, and that we're just like, we want a variety of things, even if we're satisfied with one person. And so I don't know that that is some sort of manipulation. I think that there's
That's a
more
manipulation
pragmatic
over
answers.
women's sexuality on a large marketable scale.
Two different.
Brother, women are not always the victims. They don't have to be the victims of everything. Like
Of the sex trade, they are.
Also
Of the sex trade, they are.
Oh my God. Sorry.
Leah, I
are
agree with you.
separate.
In a lot of cases, that's the case. If you came to Las Vegas, I could introduce you to hundreds of women who actually enjoy everything that they're doing. And I've asked them a
They
million
tell
times.
you that they tell you they enjoy it. They have to sell a dream.
So one of my friends.
I mean, that's unfalsifiable, right? They say that they do it, but secretly they don't mean that they enjoy it. It's like, come on, how could we prove or disprove?
The sex industry has one of the highest rates of mental illness in any occupation,
and the highest rate of suicide is men who get divorced by women who manipulate them and they take their own life.
That's because women have the highest rate of mental illness, and the sex industry is filled with women.
Whatever.
That's why.
Okay.
No, that's literally why. That's why that's the case.
Okay. So Leah, Jamie Lynn Gillette, she's a marriage and family therapist who comes on my show frequently. She had exactly the same argument she did. She said there's no way that women in sex work would ever be happy. And then she started interviewing them, and she's like, I have completely changed my mind. There are some women who are absolutely happy.
There's some women.
And no, but it's more than you think. And part of the reason why, and I'm not advocating for this at all, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but because what's happened is now they can stay at home, have sex with their husband on OnlyFans, film it, and make $200,000 a year. That's the reason why they're in sex work and they're actually not unhappy about it. That's
the most ethical form of sex work in which they're not being taken advantage of.
But that's becoming the most common form of sex work. If you look at OnlyFans, that's what women are doing. And also,
that's completely anecdotal.
Welcome to Mexico, guys. Sorry, hold on.
It's definitely not the most common.
It's all good. Wait, real quick. Actually, it's a good time to
just kick the wall. Just kick the wall. Sorry,
dude. It's like that. The fucking lights go off.
I want to really quickly introduce Torsha and get her caught up. Torsha, the first topic we're debating, which we got probably another 10, 15, 20 minutes of, is there something wrong with an age gap in relationships, meaning the guy's like 50 and the girl's like 18 or 19, like think Leonardo DiCaprio. So really quickly sum up everyone's positions. Andrew is like, no, there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, it's probably more optimal. Michael seems to be neutral about it. Lav does not think it's good. And Tom also seems to be somewhat neutral about it.
She mostly thinks
I am neutral I'm like a neutral and slightly bad. I'm not like it's all bad. Let me clarify.
Okay. But I mean, okay, that's fine.
Neutral to bad.
Okay. It seemed like you were largely arguing on the behalf that, like, hey,
in certain cases, absolutely bad.
Okay.
But that's still the fringe cases.
Okay, I understand. So yeah, Torsha, that's kind of where we're at right now.
Okay. Well, listen, if anybody would tell me at 20 that I couldn't marry a sugar daddy, I'd be like, fuck you. That's my position.
There we go.
Mind your business.
That's a healthy preference, though, right? But the sugar daddy's a creep. That's the way it works. It's creepy. What he's doing.
That was Lav's argument from Incrudelity, is that it's creepy.
I did a lot of things that I thought were super smart. And then I look back 5 years later and I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe nobody looked out for me while I did that.
Also,
but everybody does this with
Alex,
everything.
can you turn down Torsha's mic a little bit? It's like
sorry.
It's not your fault. It's same thing might happen to TomFoolery. So.
Okay.
I'm not saying that you should go to jail if you marry an 18-year-old. I just think that personally, it ups my ick factor. I think it's yucky.
I know, but it ups my ick factor that you find it icky. So that's the argument.
And you're entitled to your opinion,
right? So it's just that you're icky and it's icky. And
I'm on here as a fucking personality. You might think that you know all the secrets of the universe. I'm here just giving an opinion, just like you are.
At what point?
Your opinion is icky.
At what point do you find it icky? Like, what is the? Because aren't you?
She said before 25.
Yeah, before 25.
She said before 25.
And so in what before 25? 10 years before 25? 20 years before 25?
The fixed male age being 50 at this point. I think you should cap at 25.
Why?
Because when a woman's like brain is not developed, and I think that a lot of people don't raise their daughters to have any sense these days, so they're just like a bunch of stupid women running around who are under 25.
Should baby them longer?
No,
I
I don't
would
think
say
that we
it's a
should
red
bake
flag.
them longer. I think that we should scrutinize these relationships, and then we should teach women to be extremely self-aware of what they're capable of in a relationship and what they're going into. Yeah.
I mean, I dated somebody that was 38 when I was 20, and it was a great relationship. So I know you
Okay.
had bad experiences, but other people
No,
did.
I
Does
never
it
had
make
a bad
it still-
experience with that.
Oh,
This
I
is not
thought-
a personal argument at all.
Oh, okay. Okay.
None of us
Hey,
are
just-
in here
So you're
streaming
just
on
saying the
playing
ick
with fire right
factor.
now or
Can I
success
just clarify?
stories.
Just an ick factor? Isn't that what you're saying? It just
Yeah,
would
so
be
like, so
Okay.
I gave the example earlier of like, if you are an 18-year-old, you meet your husband and he's great and he has all this money and you think your life is made, and then, you know, and he's like 50, 10 years, or let's say 5 years later, you're 24, 23 at this point, and he starts beating you. Or no, let's say that he starts beating you 6 months into the relationship. Actually, 6 months into the relationship, he starts beating you. But you come from poverty. Your life is made now because he has an established career because he's in his 50s. He has political power because he's in his 50s, and he probably has all these friends, work, whatever, and whatever. He has power over you in that way. You are less likely to leave a relationship if your life is made, and with that man can now financially dominate you and emotionally abuse you. And I also don't think that your partner should take on a mother or a father role. And I think you're more likely to do that with an age gap relationship.
Yeah. So it's like,
So
gee,
power
hey,
imbalance.
Andrew, I know that you're younger than me, but I just want you for your good looks and your body, and I'm going to pamper you for the rest of your life and give you everything that you want. No, stop, please stop, though, the abuse. This is so terrible.
If you want a woman for her good looks and body, she's only going to have that for so long, and then what do you do with her? That's disadvantageous.
Spend her money. Spend her money. What do you mean? What would I do with her? Same thing she would do, right?
And then
Spend
he's just going to throw you away and get a new one. That's disadvantageous for women.
Well, okay, if they're
Wait,
younger, if they're an 18-year-old woman, and like, let's say that this is a 55-year-old guy, by the time her market value goes down, I don't think he's throwing her anywhere because he's going to be like, what, fucking 75, 80 years old or something. So I don't think you need to worry too much about how much her market value is going to go down in the interim in comparison to what he might want.
Yeah, but then she's like a previously married woman.
Ew.
Yeah. Ew.
What?
Wait,
Yeah.
would you say the same
That's
thing?
like, that's
for
almost
2K
all women
men?
now, right?
I hate to
Yeah,
go
that's a
that route.
problem.
Yeah, but
Earlier
I'm
you-
just saying
Divorce rates are a problem.
yeah, but you're just saying kind of like she'll be in the pool that most other women are in who are in already healthy relationships, or what you would have considered healthy relationships.
Yeah, why couldn't that should have been a woman who probably should have been in a healthy relationship?
Yeah, but even the ones that you would consider to be not red flag relationships are mostly going to end up the same way that one in this hypothetical would end up.
What?
Divorced.
Well, I think that there are a couple ways that you can avoid divorce that I would give advice.
Yeah,
to
I know, but
with-
you wouldn't consider those relationships to be a red flag to look into like you would these.
I think that
and
there
yet
are
you
more
still go.
than wait.
And
Why?
yet, hang on, stop.
There are other red
Let
flags.
me finish the
other than
argument,
age.
and I'll
Why
give
did
it.
you? No,
I'll
you just
give
gave
it
me.
back.
You
Let me
put
just
words in
finish
my
the
mouth.
argument. Let me just finish the
You
argument.
put words in my mouth.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
You
you
said
did.
that
You
you
said
should.
that I hold this red flag above the other ones. I don't.
No, I didn't
Wait,
say
guys,
above.
let's go one at a time.
I didn't say above anything. I said in this case, you see it as a red flag. So if you see
Yes.
this as a red flag, you're not looking into the other people for this red flag that doesn't exist with other people, right?
There
You're
are
only
other
looking.
red flags.
So you would look in other red flags that are not these red flags, right? So they
Yes.
don't exist with other groups. They exist with this group. But if that red flag is just leading to the inevitability of what it leads to with these other groups in the healthy relationships that don't have this red flag, then what's the red flag even fucking there for anyway?
Like a risk factor.
Yeah, but if the outcome is
So-
basically the same,
Usually, people do risk assessment in scenarios to ensure that they're not going to get hurt or that their life's going to go off the rails, or that's like a pretty normal occurrence for people to do in their lives.
yeah, okay, but by your logic, it's basically going to end up at worst the same as it does in most of the healthy relationships that you wouldn't put the red flag on, right?
That particular red flag, it could also end in divorce. I'm confused on what you're asking.
So I'll rephrase this the best way that I possibly can, okay?
Okay.
You think that this is a red flag. The thing that you're trying to kind of argue is this could potentially lead to divorce because he decides that he doesn't want her later or something like this.
That's
However,
one of the risk factors of that red flag is just simple divorce. Yeah.
Okay, but with that red flag, that's most of the health.
That's like the least of the
yeah,
worries.
but that's like
is
most
divorce.
of the healthy relationships that you wouldn't put that red flag on also going to end up that way, right?
Sure, but that is also the best case scenario in an age gap relationship is that you divorce. that's like one of the better case scenarios.
Yeah, but the rest of them are outliers.
Or that
from
your
that,
husband
right?
dies,
the rest of them
right?
are outliers from that.
The divorce isn't what she's afraid of, though, is it?
Yeah,
like,
no.
it's the manipulation.
Divorce
it's
is not
abuse,
great.
It's like a
Yeah,
bunch
but
of,
it's mostly...
divorce.
Yeah, but aren't
like
these
the thing
outlier
to
cases for the most part? Like,
yes.
aren't they? Yeah. So,
yes,
but,
Andrew,
I mean, who
how
gives
many
a shit
times
again?
do I have to say this?
So, I mean,
I
then
don't
who gives
think
a shit
this is
again?
all cases.
Yeah, but why even put a red flag on if it's just all
because
outliers?
those cases are so bad that I think it's worth bringing up.
Aren't all red flags outliers?
Well, no,
not necessarily. Not now. I think some red flags are becoming very common. But Leah, I have a question for you. So let's go just specifically to, like, say, the Leonardo DiCaprio situation, where a lot of women are upset because he keeps, like, predictably dumping women when they turn 25 years old. Yeah. And my question is, that's probably the least kept secret in the world. Like, everyone knows that, and yet the women are lining up by the hundreds in order to do that.
Of course.
And so my question is, are they absolved of responsibility because he has so much power? And is it like, oh my God, of course it's Leonardo DiCaprio. So they should take some blame too for wanting to date older men.
Not wanting to date older men. I think that if you're, obviously I just have to scrutinize your moral compass if you're just like, that this guy's going to like turn you over. I mean, get what you can out of it, I guess. But then you're wasting your best childbearing years on a man who's not going to marry you.
Yeah, but that's their problem. That's the girl's problem.
Of course it is. But I'm saying if I were to give advice.
Advice?
Yes, if I were to give these women advice, which is what Michael asked me a personal question. He wants to know my opinion.
Yeah, I just want they're not absolved of responsibility is what I'm saying. Because that's one of the issues that I have with the argument.
I think these women have the wrong priorities, and I think that they're ultimately hurting themselves.
Are they being stupid, Lav?
Yeah, I think that they're being stupid.
Would you tell them you're being a stupid woman?
Yes.
Yeah, see.
I have many friends in LA. I have a friend in LA who broke up a marriage of an older man, and because he was a millionaire. And I was like, you are retarded. You are dumb. You're wasting.
Maybe it's
not gonna in 5 years. Your life. You're not gonna be as hot. You're not gonna be as whatever. You're not gonna be as wanted, and you're completely fucking your life. You're not preparing for the second half of your life.
Maybe I'm missing it, but what are we saying? Like, what is the negative outcome coming from young women manipulating men? Like, if we're saying like that they're using their beauty and things to get into relationships, these are generally things that men value anyways, and these are things that men want. But what are they using those to do afterwards? Like,
Lav, real quick before you answer. So I want to give like a 5 to 7 minute warning for this topic, so everyone knows before we move on to the next topic. Okay, go ahead, Lav.
This is more so for Michael. I'm asking what is the negative outcome that we're afraid there? Because with men, we're talking about them using this to like keep them in this relationship. They're able to like get them away from their friends and family and kind of like seclude them so that they don't really know what their options are. Yeah. They're kind of stuck.
Worst case scenario, you just don't get to have sex with a young woman. That's
I don't think women are capable of using their beauty to do those things, whereas men can use their money, their knowledge, their maturity, their their career experience, all of these other things to do those things.
So there are some studies out there that show, they're called, like I said, May-December marriages, where it's a much older man with a much younger woman, and in those cases there is there's situations where a man will do a lot of mate guarding in order to keep his girl, but that's because she is of a very high level of attractiveness in comparison to him, and so that whole situation. My whole point about this whole deal is that I don't think one side has the ability to manipulate more than the other. I do understand that the man is going to be more. Have more experience, but that doesn't necessarily make him more manipulative. And so, like, going back, like you said before, with the whole situation with Leonardo DiCaprio, he is apparently bad because he has all these 25-year-old. Once the women turn 25, he gets rid of them and goes on to the next one. And by the way, a lot of those women don't come back and complain. They got to date Leonardo DiCaprio from their standpoint.
I think one of the biggest, I think a big scrutiny, at least of women or feminists who look at the Leonardo DiCaprio situation, is that we should, it is imperative that we influence men to settle down faster, to want families before they turn 50, right? Like, I think it is, it's vain, it's dysgenic, and it's sort of morally corrupt for a man to go his whole life using and turning out women and not creating a family. So that's like a
Wait, is
like
that your
big
argument or
thing.
the feminist argument?
Well,
That's your argument.
I think that's like the inherent uncomfortable feeling of most women when they look at the Leonardo DiCaprio situation. Like,
Got it.
that it is
What feminists are saying that? That goes against sexual liberation.
You've talked, Andrew, I'm sure that you've talked to retarded feminists. I'm sure that you have talked to genuinely stupid feminists, and I'm sure that there are a lot of feminists who don't agree with the point that I just made.
Leah, I don't even know if it's feminist. I think it's just older women who just don't like, because one of the things that happens is there's two parts here. One, we're going to look at what they call the Peter Pan syndrome, where a man continues to. See, here's the thing. You're looking at the 50-year-old man and his wealth, and you're like, oh, well, he should have just got married at 32. What if he wasn't wealthy at 32? I can tell you a lot of guys, they become more established later in life, and they had to work really hard to get to that, level of comfortability and wealth. And then all of a sudden they're like, you're selfish for not creating a family as soon as you can. When in reality, like during his early 20s, he had very few options with women. And now he has more because he's finally put on some muscle. He has some gray hair. Like, he actually at some point in his life can afford a house, maybe 2 houses, maybe a car, things like that. He has some level of financial freedom. This is the first point in his life where he's actually turned into the 21-year-old hot girl.
I don't think that that's the case with most women. Like, Leonardo DiCaprio is actually not at his sexual prime. He's not the hottest he's ever been. He's not the richest he's ever been. So I think in a lot of cases, like with Andrew Tate,
probably is the richest he's ever been.
It's a lot of, well, maybe now after the new Martin Scorsese movie as well. But, but like for most men, like you're sort of pointing out this dynamic in which like an incel finally becomes attractive. That happens far less frequently than a man who wants to enjoy his prime for as many years as possible.
No, I think the incel is becoming the not the incel. Let's not use the word incel because I don't like that from a statistical standpoint. Sure. The man who has very few sexual options for whatever reason, and that could actually be the very healthy guy who happens to be just an E3 in the U.S. Army and has been deployed several times. Sure. He has very few options with women. He's stationed at Fort Hood, or he's stationed at No Hope Pope or someplace like that where there's just no women around, and then or a guy who like works in an oil derrick in West Texas or one in Alaska. There's just no women around, so that's one section. He's not an incel, but he just doesn't have a lot of options with women, and he's stacking up his money for the part of his 20s and 30s, and then once he gets established and now he wants to go off and play the field, this is the first time for him to do it. I'll tell you, I wasn't married, but I was married to the federal government when I was a U.S. military officer, and that was a period of time in my life where normal traditional dating was not available to me because I lived in Wichita, Kansas, Altus, Oklahoma, and Warner Robins, Georgia. So because of those places, once I got out, now I'm 33 years old. I've got money saved up. I've got a GI Bill, and I'm a retired U.S. Air Force captain. And now I have these options that maybe, a lot of people like back at the church would have been like, why didn't you get married at 25, 26? Sure. I'm like, because I didn't get to see a hot woman for a long time.
Absolutely. And I think that that's totally, and I think that most people, or at least I keep that in mind, that there are people like that. But also we have to talk about, there are people who come out of the military. You're more likely to beat your wife if you're in the military. So if we have all of these
you're
men,
also more likely to beat your husband if you're a female in the military.
I think what it is you're more likely to get cheated on if you're in the military.
True. No, but if you have a job like that, or even even as a blue collar worker, you are more likely to beat your wife. So I think
the 88% of the military would be blue collar. The enlisted would be blue collar workers.
Yeah. But I'm also saying just like outside of the military, blue collar workers, cops, or construction, like you're more likely to beat your partner. So then, you add an age, and then you add you're dating an 18-year-old and your ex-military, and
I don't think the military thing has anything to do with it. I think it's
naive. I think that that's worth. I think that there's so many risk factors. This is not the only red flag. I think that if I experience you on a double date with your girlfriend and you're treating her well and she's very happy and I'm friends with her and she's not telling me that you're doing anything weird, no fucking problem. I don't care about your age.
Lab, we're gonna make that happen. We're gonna make that happen. Lab.
I don't care. At that point, I don't care about your age difference at all. And in fact, if you're taking care of her, it's very probably advantageous for both.
I just feel like that just would apply to anybody, though. That's the whole problem.
Yes,
I
which
just
is
feel
my
like that would
argument.
apply
This
to
is my
Yes,
anybody.
argument.
Andrew. I don't think age is the end all be all. I'm just saying it's a
Well,
Well, it
fucking
doesn't even
risk
sound like it's
factor.
a factor. It just sounds like you would just act this way regardless of who it was. If somebody came to you and was like, "My husband's beating me," you wouldn't give a shit about the
Like, shit,
I
I'm
don't even
30.
understand why the age thing is a problem. You know what I
No,
mean?
Obviously, if someone came to me and said my husband is beating me, no. But just from not knowing someone and looking at the relationship, I'm gonna feel anxious about it. Is all I'm saying.
Left.
Yeah, again, the
And I
age
like
gap
that.
have-
That just sounds like being a busybody, to be honest with you.
And
Wait,
women are naturally
wait.
that's feminine chaos, baby. Get used to it.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next topic in a minute or two. But Laf, to be fair to what Andrew's saying, I'm also a little bit confused about your position. So on one hand, you are saying that it's a case by case basis.
I almost have the same position as Tom, and you get his.
Well, no, but because I sort of understand his position, I'm a little bit confused by yours. And I want to just clear it up for the chat and whatnot. I'm not actually trying to like debate you or whatever. So on one hand, you're saying that it's a case by case basis, but on the other hand, you're saying like anything under 25, you get the ick factor. Like you don't, that's a cause of concern, red flag. So I guess maybe you can just like clarify that for the chat.
Just as I don't think that women should pick their partners strictly for money, I don't think that men should pick their partners strictly for beauty. I think that is a weird thing to do. Both gives me the ick. I just get the ick. The dynamic sucks to me. I hate it. I think it's creepy for the man. I think it's vain, misguided, and stupid for the woman. And I think it's just a red flag. It's just a red flag for me on like a person basis.
Okay,
Hey,
I'll let the other panelists kind of explore that. For
Just real quick, Lab. While I understand your argument, and I think we'd all agree we'd like to have multiple positive attributes in our partner. One of the issues is we're just getting to a point now where if 80% of men are deemed unattractive on dating apps, if 63% of the right swipes are going to the top 10% of men, and 83% of the right swipes are going to the top 20% of men, and women are just in generally saying 80% of men are deemed unattractive, then in that case, then the man choosing a woman, not because she's attractive, but because she's the most attractive he can get, because a lot of men, the average man in this country makes $39,000 a year. Lab.
This is why we should bring eunuchs back. And this is why we should bring eunuchs back.
Hold on,
We should
I don't
bring
think that
eunuchs
matters
back.
as much.
We have them already. They're called transgender.
And there should be more.
What do you mean?
Let's start.
I don't think that matters as much because on dating apps, it seems as though they're actually looking for some sort of short-term relationship where it's more about like hooking up, having sex, stuff like that. Whereas like obviously
it changes
they're
by
looking
age
for
as
more,
well.
and on
It
dating
does
apps,
change by
Yeah.
Whereas in person, if we
Tom,
meet people in person, looks don't matter nearly as much, and most people aren't getting into
I think it does for
relationships
men.
through dating apps.
But like when you're talking
men are-
about
Right, I think women judge men differently in real life. That's what I'm saying. Is that they care
I think
more
they judge
about
women.
personality.
I think, as they get older, I agree with you. I think in the beginning, I like a lot of women do like men based on their physical appearance, but like physical attractiveness or attractiveness for men is contextual. But the thing about dating apps is it's not contextual. You're just looking at a photo of them, so you don't know what kind of status this person has unless you're looking at like an AP or a fucking Lamborghini behind him. You can't really tell that. So I understand what you're saying from that standpoint. But my point is, in general, there is a massive group of men that no one finds attractive, and they don't have the ability or the abundance to choose a woman that has multiple positive attributes. They don't have the ability to check anything.
They should have.
These men should have sex with. That's your prescription. Let's clip this one.
But that's what they do have, right? Ugly men marry ugly women, and ugly women marry ugly men. Fat women marry fat men. I mean, that's just the trend that I always see everywhere. It's the trend everybody sees.
They seem to be getting married at higher
equally
rates.
yoked.
Yeah.
Okay. I have so much to add to what you guys are saying, but that would break my role as moderator. So
can I ask one question to Lab real quick? Sure, you said something earlier about women wanting attention. So I come from an evolutionary psychology background, and the things that I'm confused. I just wanted some clarification on women wanting attention. So an attention structure where women want a lot of attention. Women admit to going on dating apps frequently and then have no intention of even dating. Or if they do, it's like the ultimate, like top 4.5% of men that women actually pursue. For the most part, they're just there to try to get a lot of attention. You believe that that's a cultural construct and not a genetic one?
Well, it's hard to say about this specifically, because obviously in a world where with EvoPsych, in a world where men are the stronger, more prideful, bigger sex, women naturally will adhere to that because that is just like survival, right? So through that, they're like primal instinct, perhaps, like we have evolved for women to want to achieve power through any means necessary, that being the most accessible to women. Right.
Well, the most accessible, yeah. So I'm just, tell me if this argument's incorrect, but the argument would be that women recognizing that their physical appearance is very, very important to them throughout our evolutionary past. Them having that realization, then, remember, we don't have a mirror 50,000 years ago. We don't have a mirror 20,000 years ago. Women, the only way that they can tell that they're attractive is by the reactions that they get from other men. Therefore, the cues of attention from other men would actually allow them to know, hey, I'm physically attractive and I have so they would get a dopamine or a serotonin release from getting attention from other men.
Well, sure.
Very similar.
And men feel that as well.
Well, yeah, but not to the same extent. Like, I don't really care if I'm like, most guys who are ugly, they're just like, I'm ugly and they just don't give a fuck about it. But like for men in this situation, not nearly to the extent. I know very few men that have had a nose job.
Men's power in the world is
which is why we don't care as much. But my point is the validation, the equivalent validation for men is not from their physical attractiveness or the attention they get, but it's from sexual validation. And so because men, they get their validation from a woman through the sex she is willing to have with him. Women, on the other hand, get the validation from men from the amount of attention that she gets. And she can get attention from multiple men at the same time. And my only argument was that is genetic. Like it has nothing to do with culture or a patriarchy.
I hate to kind of interrupt because it seems like you guys have a discussion, but we do got to move on to the next topic. I'll give everyone like maybe a 45 second to a minute closing statement so you can get your final thoughts in on this, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. Let's just go in the same order. Tom, you're up.
I like same thing I stated earlier, but I would like to add that I don't care as much about like age gaps for short-term dating. If you're just hooking up with somebody, it could be that Leonardo DiCaprio is straight up telling these people, hey, I'm not interested in a marriage. I'm not interested in anything long-term. I just want to date hot chicks, have sex, and move on. There's not really like a manipulative factor there as much because he's not supposed to like take care of them for the rest of their lives, or he's not planning on putting a baby in them and raising children together, or like it's not something that is hoped to be forever after that. So I don't think that the manipulation is there as much, and I don't really care about short-term relationships. The red flags only show up in long-term dating where you feel like you need to stay in that relationship for some reason.
Okay, cool. Andrew?
Yeah, I just don't feel like we established anything, right? Just nothing. So there wasn't any arguments given against the age gap that were of any moral imperative of any kind. We have established that older men like to have sex with young, hot women. I'm sure that strikes us all as being incredible information that nobody knew anything about. And that some young women like to marry sugar daddies and be pampered, right? Striking. I know it's society changing. Everybody's going to walk away from this with a completely newfound set of eyes on the topic. On top of that, we established that the only thing that's really wrong with this is that busybodies like Lav will stick their nose in it for no particularly good reason, because she thinks there might be some red flags.
It's my nurturing motherly instinct.
Even though there's nothing actually.
My
closing statement, Lav. My closing statement, Lav. You'll get yours, I promise. So all we've established is that she'll stick her nose in your business, even though she has no moral imperative by her own admission to do so. This genius level stuff. There wasn't a single argument. It was a complete and total waste of everybody's fucking time.
Oh, it was really good content. Okay, Michael, you're next.
Hey, I'm just here for Torsia. I came here because Torsia was coming on, and I'm a big fan of Torsia. I follow everything that Torsia does. And my girlfriend and I are trying to get on Lab Show. That's the other reason why we came on here today.
What the fuck?
I
I
mean, the
thought
main
it was
thing.
because you and I were friends.
Yes, obviously that too, Alex. But the thing is, man, I just want to say, I understand this argument, and I've heard the arguments on both sides. And I'm trying to be open minded to it. Especially one of my favorite books, Lab. I think you would love this. It's called The Murderer Next Door by Dr. David Buss. It's a fantastic book that actually goes over this specific topic. It's an evolutionary psychology book. And in doing that, I grant it. But the thing is, being in a relationship like I am now, where my girlfriend's 24 years younger than me, I can tell you she is at a much higher level of maturity than I was when I was 21. And I have, because I've been able to keep myself in shape, and because I still work in things like nightlife,
military,
and I still host events.
You were probably you weren't an adult until last year.
Well, yeah, I mean that's partly it, but I also still I host pageants. Like I'm here emceeing a bikini pageant with 70 girls. Like I don't live the normal life of a 46-year-old man. So I think that kind of makes it. Huh? What'd you say?
It said you're a sex trafficker.
I'm a sex trafficker. There we go.
Lab,
Awesome.
shut up.
I love it. Hey, Leah, when you come judge my bikini competition in Vegas, I want to do this. I don't think I will. You won't? Okay. I would love to have you come. The girls would love you.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, Lav, your closing statement.
I think that we ought to tell women to prepare for the second half of their life, and it's disadvantageous for them to enter a relationship like this. And I think that we should also socially try to point men into a direction to have families younger, and to not just behave primally off of what they want to have sex with because they want to have sex with young women. I think that men ought to show a little more restraint. So, okay,
cool. Torsha?
I guess if we actually wanted to change anything that women do, or if women are getting into these relationships with older men, they would have to stop giving status to things like money. And I just don't really see that happening. I was open to changing my opinion. But no, I keep my same thing with mind your business, and I'm going to marry my sugar daddy at 20. So yeah.
Okay. Well, he can pay for the lawn test, so you'll have no issue there.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic at hand, which is are promiscuous men and women. So it's both. We're talking about both. You can separate them. You can say one or the other or both. Less valuable to society. So once again, are promiscuous men and women less valuable to society? Let's reverse the order since we started with Tom. So let's just flip it on its head and go with Torsha first.
Okay. So are women, can you hear me? I just messed with this. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. You're good. You're 100% good.
Yeah, I think that promiscuous men and women are useless. So they're just not going to procreate anyway. So what are they doing? They're really useless. I don't know.
Okay, so promiscuous and they procreate.
So, Torsha,
yeah, keep them then.
I want to clarify. You would argue they are indeed less valuable to society, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go next to Lav.
Yes, I think that they are less valuable in the sense that, yeah, they're going to procreate less, and they're probably going to have a lower quality of children.
Okay, interesting. I actually did not expect you to take that position at all.
What do you mean?
I literally thought your position would be the exact opposite. But
I literally just advocated for abstinence until engagement. What are you talking about?
Okay, anyway, I don't know. I don't really know that well, I guess. But anyway, let's go next to Michael.
I am going to say that it certainly doesn't make you more valuable, but I do think it is, and this is going to offend some people, but I think it has much more of an effect for women than it does for men. I think when women have more sex, then it is more likely that they're going to cheat in a relationship. The GSS has done surveys. Women who cheat in a relationship have on average about 8.3 sexual partners before they get married, and women who don't is about 3. For men, we don't see the same correlation. We see some correlation, but not quite the same correlation. So So in that situation, when you look at does men having more sexual partners affect them as far as being worse people or worse people in a relationship? The answer is some, but not nearly to the effect that it affects women. With women, it seems to be an extreme deleterious effect. In fact, once you get to 20 sexual partners, the likelihood of you staying in a marriage is about 17%. So I'm going to have the red pill misogynist answer, which is it's actually it's not good for either, but it's way worse for women.
Michael, I want to really quickly clarify your position. So, for example, like I know Myron says that, like, hey, you shouldn't even bother getting into a relationship until you sleep with at least 50 girls so you have the experience. Would
Mhm.
you agree or disagree with that statement?
You need to have some experience. 50, like I think one of the reasons why Myron said 50 is because in Miami, 50 is like normal for a dude who goes out a lot. A guy in Wichita, Kansas, 50 is asking a lot. A guy who lives in Waco, Texas, 50 is actually asking a lot. So I don't know if that number is necessary. I do think men need experience. I do think men need to be able to just determine whether or not a woman is a red flag or not. Does he need to have sex with all of them? No, I don't think he does. I think you can get a lot of experience understanding how women are from dating and not necessarily having sex with all of them. But at the same time, do I think a man who's been with 50 women is less likely to be in a marriage? I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's less likely for him to be faithful. And I don't think it ruins him as a man, but I don't necessarily recommend you all go sleep with 50 women.
Okay, just one more clarification question. So obviously 50 is like an arbitrary number, but you were saying that you do think a man should have some experience with women before settling down, which by the way is my position as well. So then for men, you would say it's like a slight positive as long as they don't take it too far?
Yeah, so that's the other thing. They show happiness in a relationship, again, same GSS survey. And actually, once men get above 10 sexual partners, they're actually happier in a relationship. When women get above 11 or 10 or 11, their happiness in a relationship starts to plummet. So my point is that there seems to be, for some reason, a very deleterious effect on women when they have multiple sexual partners that doesn't seem to happen for men. The example that I like to give sometimes is the concept of if a man literally had to have sex with 17 women in order to save his life, he'd do it and probably wouldn't think about it a week later. If a woman had to have sex with 17 men in order to save her life, that would be a very traumatic experience that she probably hold with her for the rest of her life. That's the difference. Our psychology is different. And I think because of that, when men have multiple sexual partners, from every survey that I've seen, and not one of them has gone in the opposite direction, shown a neutral correlation or a negative correlation. Every single one that I've seen shows that as men have more sexual partners, it does not seem to affect them nearly to the extent that it affects women in a relationship.
Okay,
Well,
I understand. Let's go
that
next.
study
Wait,
that-
laugh. We're doing opening statements.
It's
Just
Tori. It's not Lev.
Oh shit! Sorry, my bad. I'm like so out of it. Tori, yeah, the opening statements. I promise there'll be full open panel after that. Andrew, you're up next.
Yeah, I think it not only devalues the person because it devalues your virtue, but it devalues society because it teaches how to be virtueless. And inside of a society with no virtues, you have a society like we have now, which is just full of degeneracy everywhere that you look. And the sexual dynamics that Lav hates so much wouldn't really exist inside of a standardized virtuous society. So yeah, it's terrible for both sexes.
But yet you think that a man.
It's my opening statement, Lav. My opening statement, Lav.
Laugh, yeah. Come on.
No, it's
Lav and
cool.
torture, ladies.
I'll tell you what, Lav, as the strong woman, you're the strong feminine. Why don't you just take my opening statement, Lav?
No, I'll allow you to have it.
Are you sure, Lav? Is that okay with you? Is that okay, Lav?
I will permit it.
Can I have the opening or the closing statement?
Guys, Jesus Christ. Let's get back to Andrew's opening statement, and I promise you guys can go at it. You guys literally can fucking fight each other verbally or physically. I don't care, but let's get through the opening statements. Go ahead, Andrew.
Anyway, so yeah, it creates a virtueless society. Okay, now, if you're talking about the effects on society in general, Sartain probably has a point that the expectation for women to be more virtuous than men seems to be held by both sexes, even in highly virtuous societies. Do I think that it affects women more and that the outcomes are worse for them ultimately in a society with no virtue? I do. Then do I think that should be good incentive for women to show better virtue? I also think that too. So when you're looking at society in general and the effect, I would say both need to not be degenerate scumbags. But I do think it negatively affects women more.
Okay, understand. Tom?
Yeah, there's obviously like pluses and minuses. I do agree that there is virtue in waiting till marriage. I think that that's probably something that most of us agree on. But and then there's also a bunch of downsides to being promiscuous. There's like higher chances of STDs, unwanted pregnancies. Promiscuity seems to align with like alcohol abuse, drug abuse, less want or need to be a parent. But there's also some pluses, like women do seem to find men more attractive who have more experience, and they do generally, and men find women with more experience less attractive. So there are ups and downs in different areas. So I'm happy to get more into that as we go.
All right, cool. Now let's get into the open panel portion. We'll probably go for somewhere between 45 minutes to 50 minutes, something like that. So let's kick it off.
Yeah, so Lav, you had a criticism, I thought.
Yeah, if we're supposed to be teaching virtue, I don't think that men, reacting on their most primal state of trying to fuck young women is full of virtue.
If they're getting married to him, why is it not virtuous?
Well, that's what I said. Remember, I said that earlier. I said if they're getting married, then it's less of a red flag.
Yeah, but still a red flag in your mind. You still think that it's a power dynamic that shouldn't be done. Yeah, but you still think it's a power dynamic that's bad. That's the problem, right? So from my perspective, I don't think so.
Not if there's alimony involved.
I literally don't care about it. I don't even think it's a big deal at all. I don't care that older men want to marry and have sex with young, hot women who reproduce beautiful offspring for them. I don't give a shit. I literally don't care. I don't see how that's in any way not virtuous.
Vanity is a virtue.
How's that vanity? How's that vanity to want to have strong,
Why would you not want to have
then...
sex and procreate with women who you think would be good mothers?
What would that have to do with virtue? Why would it be more virtuous to do that than the opposite?
Because if you were having sex and marrying a woman just based off of the way that she looks and how much you want to have sex with her, that is virtueless.
No, it's not. It actually has additional virtue because you're getting the strongest offspring from that, who then can have
just someone who's attractive?
The strongest offspring, the most beautiful. Yes, it's going to give them
a better. You think IQ matters less than how pretty
if you have, well, no, you can have both. It's not an either or. It's not a bifurcated position.
These days it is either or.
No, it's not. It's not a bifurcated position. There's no less virtue in marrying a young, beautiful woman to have your offspring than it is marrying an older woman to have your offspring. There's no virtue difference. What is the distinction here?
Well, the only positive you brought up in an old man marrying a young woman is that he gets to have sex with like a hot young woman.
No, that's not the only virtue I brought up. She's going to be able to produce many times more offspring, which is why when you said women have to wait when they're in their 30s, how many years? You said 5. At 18, it's many times more than that. The highest value that he has is reproduction.
So your values are just reproduction.
No,
just as
that's
many kids as possible.
not only, but yes, reproduction is a big one, and it's more virtuous. More virtuous to have more children, more offspring. Yes, there's more virtue in that. Why wouldn't there be? That's you taking more of your resources to take care of more human beings, perpetuating the human race, allowing for those human beings to then go on and have even more offspring, perpetuate the human race. There can't even be virtue absent humans. Yes, it's a very virtuous act to have many children with women who are capable of doing it. Strong, healthy, very virtuous action. What is the alternative?
A 25-year-old can pump out a ton of kids and also also be way better equipped for parenthood.
Well, no, maybe not. The thing is that
generally,
show me how there would be a virtuous delineation there. I'm not saying that he can't marry a 25-year-old. I'm just also saying can't marry an 18-year-old.
They're just slightly less young and hot at 25.
Okay, but at 25,
then you're doing away with vanity.
So if all we're doing here is just going off of like kind of the quibbling theories of, well, she might be able to have X amount of children, fine, then let's quibble about it. The 18-year-old still probably is going to be able to have more, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, so probably. So again, if you're going to nitpick on the virtues,
but I think generally she's also going to be a worse mother.
Based on
the like modern day society, like what women are doing at 18, and also just your brain's not fully formed. You're more likely to get overwhelmed. You haven't learned all the lessons that you probably should.
You're also probably far more likely to have a lot more money with an older man who has all kinds of in-house care for you to help you take care of the children, and the children probably going to have a much better future. And it's not in every case. It's really hard to delineate virtue this way.
But then you're like a cow. Like as soon as you hit your maturity, you're just rolling them out.
Well, unlike you, Lav, I think that a virtuous society, you might think of
Women
it as
become
women are
breeder
cattle, but women have to reproduce the next generation of human beings, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so
And I think they can do that at 25.
yeah, and they can also do it at 18.
I think that they shouldn't.
Yeah, you think they shouldn't now?
Yeah, I think that you. Yeah, I don't think that you should
No,
reproduce
I'm
at
going to hold you to
18.
this. You say your exact words now, so you're not going to quibble about this later. At 18 years old, women should not have children.
I think that you should wait generally, yeah.
Okay, that's not what I asked.
Well, I'm clarifying my position.
Okay, so then it's not they shouldn't.
Sure.
Okay,
I think they ought to not.
Okay, so then they shouldn't. They should not at 18 have children.
Sure.
Okay, why?
Because I think that you're I think that that's too quick. You didn't get to experience any of your life.
What about 19?
I don't think that probably I think with every passing year you probably are. I would
yeah, but should 19-year-olds have children?
Probably not. They're teenagers.
Just no or yes?
Probably not. They're teenagers.
I don't know what probably not means.
Then you have a problem. You should go back to school.
The problem is I probably don't, right? I probably don't have a problem. Whatever that means. Yes or no, should they or shouldn't they laugh?
I'm in the middle. I'm in a gray area, but I'm leaning towards no.
You're leaning towards no. So that just means that whatever I come up with as an example, you'll use a qualifier and say that's fine.
Some people don't have extreme ideas.
That's not an extreme idea. It's a law of excluded middle.
No,
See,
you want me to pick a black or a white, and I'm not.
Lav, would you say most of the time they shouldn't?
Yeah, most of the time they shouldn't.
Okay. Most of the time, 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds should not. And are you basing this on their body's physiology?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, yeah.
Well, what does that mean? In the most case, are you basing that on the physiology as your primary case? Okay, good. I didn't think you did. So we can rule that out. So the only thing you're actually basing it on.
Thank you for taking this really slow.
Still, the only thing that you're actually basing this on is power dynamics, ultimately, right?
Power dynamics, but also just quality of life.
Quality of life for whom?
For women.
And what about the quality of life for the man who marries her?
Well, I guess I still thought that we were talking about age gaps a little bit.
Yeah, we are.
Let me talk.
We are talking about it. I asked you a question. What about the quality of the life of the man who marries her?
Guys,
well, he got to live his whole life without having a child.
This is an important distinction.
So he gets to be a person for 50 years, and a woman gets to be a person for like 1 year.
Because she's putting more weight on the woman than she is the man.
Okay,
that's why I want to know the distinction.
Well, no, at 50, you've already experienced
adulthood.
So what?
Okay. Yeah, so what?
I have to mute both of you for a second. Okay, guys, we are getting off track. I will let this go for another 2 minutes because it seems like this is an important topic, as Andrew says, but we are literally debating the previous topic right now. So I do want to bring it back and also want to give all the other people a chance to talk, Tom, Portia, and Michael. But like I said, I'll let this run for another minute or two. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to know why we are giving more moral weight.
We also all agree with that. We all agree. So
we don't agree. No, we don't. We don't agree.
No, we all agree that people who are promiscuous are less valuable. We all agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe. But anyway, back to this. I'm just asking.
Makes sense for us to move.
Yeah. Okay. Got you. So I'm asking this question. Why do you put more weight on the woman and the value of the woman?
I don't. The man in this case with the age gap got to live a full adult life.
Why should we take that into consideration as being some standard that we should adhere to for virtue, that he got to live more than she did?
Because I think that women and men should equally love their lives and get to experience the same things.
They get to experience the same things?
Yeah, like freedom. So like a life without children depending on you. So we especially know this with women, is that women take the brunt of like parenthood. Like women usually are they devote their entire lives to their children. So before they do that, I think it would be advantageous to them to experience life and freedom.
Then you don't believe in virtue, because your highest value is not actually virtue.
True.
Your highest value is not actually virtue. Your highest value then is some sort of egalitarian nonsense. So you're saying it would actually be more virtuous for her to stall, or in some way.
I don't have the same virtue. I don't think I agree with your virtues, your Christian Orthodox virtues.
Let me finish. What virtues could you combat them with? They're the same virtues everybody has. Their virtues are virtues.
Everyone is a Christian Orthodox.
No, virtue ethics are virtue ethics, regardless of your denomination. So
Morality
back to where we were at. Wouldn't it be more virtuous for her to stave off whatever those egalitarian, self-centered choices were?
It would have been better for him to do that also. So she should probably marry
he
someone
already did. He already did for 50 years.
An 18-year-old having a child with another 18-year-old, way less weird and bad.
Why is that way less weird or bad or more virtuous?
Because you're now experiencing life on an equal playing field with your
Why
partner.
is that more virtuous? That sounds less virtuous.
Well, that's not more virtuous.
It's not more virtuous.
No, so my life isn't entirely built on virtue, right? I still have I guess I'm in the middle of virtue and hedonism. I guess I have my hands
Those
in
are
both
polar
pots.
opposites of each other.
Yeah, no kidding.
Utility.
The duality of man, Andrew. Duality of
utility and virtues don't even mix. They don't even mix unless you see virtue as just utility. I guess you could do that.
I like to live in a gray area. And I think that most people do live in a gray area. You have a very extreme life to most people, to most Americans.
You said you started this argument by saying, how is this more virtuous? Or this is less virtuous, in fact. You said less virtuous because of some freedom doctrine. And then we ended up with you admitting, no, actually, the freedom doctrine would be less virtuous. And so the question becomes, should we go with egalitarianism, Lav, or should we go with virtue?
I think egalitarianism is a virtue. I think equality is a virtue.
Equality. What virtue do you think?
I have to meet both of you again. Okay. After Lav answers this question, I do want to let the other panelists a chance to talk. Tom literally looks like he's about to commit suicide. Torso looks like he's falling asleep.
I'm having fun.
Let's. Well, I know you are because you're doing like 50% of the talking with Andrew. Yeah, let's just let the other people get.
So people are equally evil. That's a virtue.
Okay, now let's let Lav answer, and then we will.
Yes, Andrew, that's exactly what I mean. Thank you.
I would say a weird thing is that even if we think waiting till marriage or waiting at all is virtuous, society overall is going to like promote sexuality one way or the other. And this is how we kind of end up with a lot of incels, is that if they did wait until marriage or even wanted to wait, they would end up getting kind of persecuted for it over time. And then most of the time they're going to change their mind. Even like religious people most of the time end up changing their minds and don't end up waiting till marriage and end up having sex well before marriage. There has to be like a total societal overhaul, and that's not going to happen when people go through puberty and their hormones are raging and they're in high school, which is the most like social time of their entire life, and there's babes all around them. That's it's never gonna happen. But I was gonna ask Andrew, I guess your answer would be like put God back into schools, or what? Like how would we actually go towards those virtues?
By recapturing institutions at the political level and moving towards a virtue-driven society like we used to.
Re-education camp.
You're talking about the church recapturing.
Yes.
Leah, you did want to snitch on your friends whenever they were having a relationship that was out of balance.
That was a red flag.
You're talking about like re-education camps.
I'm pro
re-education. When you're talking about,
he's one part of the Lubyanka and you're the other part of the Lubyanka.
When you're talking about Tom, when you're talking about virtues, especially, yes, of course, I want there to be all sorts of state propaganda for virtues. Why wouldn't I want that? Of course I do. Of course I want there to be decency laws, public decency laws. Yes, I don't want homosexual parades to go in the middle of the street where they're dressed like gimps doing sex acts in the middle of the street. I know it's terrible. It's like over the top evil fascism to want that. But I tend to think that most human beings not only agree with me, but when you're talking about virtues themselves, what would be the counter to them? It's this nonsensical egalitarianism. It just says it's just some bizarre doctrine that says all of us should not only have equal access, but equal outcomes. And that's what actually Lav was saying. She was like, this woman deserves to have the equal outcome of the man. That's basically what her argument is. That's not virtuous. And also, it's stupid. It doesn't even make sense. On its face, it doesn't make sense.
True.
They're not going to have equal outcomes. That's nuts.
Well, we would want something proportionate to some level in order for them
We
to
wanna
have any sort of
encourage it.
We
autonomy.
kind of make these general declarative statements of like we would want. I clearly don't want that, so we clearly don't want
Well,
that.
Well,
this
so
is
how
this
could
is
they have
another.
any sense of autonomy without them
They shouldn't.
having
No, you don't
somewhere-
realize, Tom,
something
they shouldn't.
proportionate?
They shouldn't.
shouldn't
I
have
can't.
autonomy.
I didn't hear the question, Tom.
Why? So yeah, she's saying that you wouldn't want women to have autonomy. I'm asking, how could women have autonomy in these relationships if they don't have?
No, it's actually within my.
something proportionate.
Actually, it's me. It's me who is giving more autonomy than you are. I'm not vilifying the 18-year-old for doing this. I'm not saying that the 18-year-old woman shouldn't be able to marry who she wants. I'm not saying that the 18-year-old
I'm not
can't do
saying that
these
either.
things. You're taking away the autonomy by saying that you busybodies are going to
No,
get
I'm
all up
saying
in her
I'm
fucking business
judgmental. I'm
and
saying
make
I'm
sure to
judgmental.
fuck with her life because you find it icky. It's fucking icky. It's icky. We got to get involved in that shit because it's icky.
You hate
So how
that
can
I
you
have an
how
opinion.
can you make the argument
Why
that
do you
I'm
hold my
that
opinion
I'm
in such
influencing the
weight,
autonomy?
Andrew? Just
Why
let
do-
it slide.
why do
Just
you
let it
think-
slide.
Why do you think
I'm a
it
silly
is?
little girl.
Yeah, I'm talking to Tom. Tom, why do you think it is I would be the one in this situation removing autonomy? That would be the opposite.
Well, I don't want to go back to age gaps, so I.
You must.
I
You
don't
must.
want to go back to age gaps. Obviously, I mean, even if we're just talking about promiscuity, like somebody having more experience is going to make them like give them more options, let them understand what their options are, let them know better what it is that they're looking for, whereas like having no experience is kind
So
of
you're putting a restraint on it, which is actually limiting autonomy, whereas I'm not. I'm not limiting the autonomy of the 18-year-old female
What
to choose
restraint am I
who
putting
it is.
on
You're
things?
saying that should be at least society wide, at least discouraged to have these types of age gaps. That's actually restricting autonomy in a way I'm not even
I was talking
making
about
a proposition
promiscuity.
for.
I don't want to go back to age gaps.
Okay,
I
fine.
was talking about promiscuity. Like,
So do we weigh a man's wants over a woman's wants? Like if a man wants to have like attractive children, like hot attractive children.
How would you be weighing his wants over hers?
Well, we value men having more attractive children with young women, but we don't value women living their life before having those children.
I'm saying that if the woman chooses to marry the older man in this particular case, what is the problem
go
there?
back to age gaps.
What you're saying here actually makes no sense. It's idiotic. You're saying to me, wait a second, Andrew, you're
Well, I think-
not willing to limit them, and I
Well,
am.
I have a
but
problem-
Andrew,
well, I-
you're
I have a-
affecting their autonomy, and I'm not.
Well, no, I think that the divorce rate is often due to people going into relationships uninformed or going into motherhood uninformed. A lot of people who have children very young and get married young, it'll go one of two ways. They either love it and stay with it and it's their life forever, or women and men become very unhappy with their circumstances. A lot of women divorce men because they're like, I don't want this for myself. I didn't get to live my life. I've only been a daughter. And then after a daughter, I was directly a mother. I never got to be me. And that creates a lot of problems in relationships.
Oh, did you? Oh, I'm sorry. You made a decision, and instead of going and finding yourself and riding the cock carousel, that you settled down early and had a family, and have to deal with the consequences.
No, it's
That's
not
fucking
cock
terrible.
carousel.
It's
I don't think that
terrible.
women should be having sex during this time. I think that they should be they should be reading
They
books
should be
that
traveling
they like.
Europe,
They should be
barefoot.
You can read books and have a family. The issue that I have the issue that I would have, Lab, is so if what you're saying is true, meaning the divorce rate, which I agree with you, the divorce rate is too high. It's and there's going to be reasons for that. What you should say is, okay, at a woman having children at 20, let's say 21, 22, that's too early. And then it should result in somewhere, if we did a study on them 10 years down the line, of them having a higher divorce rate. And then when we look at women who get married at like 26, 27, 28, we should see a lower divorce rate. And do we see a lower divorce rate when women get married later?
Yes.
I haven't seen that. Is it like a GSS survey?
Yeah, it's 26, 27, 28, and 29. It's the sweet spot. If you go above that, then it's worse.
But don't let them sneak it in on you. It's usually the young who are religious who are getting married in the first place, and that's the primary reason they're staying together, not because of their youth.
I don't think it's
that's the sneaky.
No,
that's the little sneak in that they do. They try to pretend that, well, young people getting married, yes, they do stay together, but they stay together for a reason, because when you're young, the motivation to get married, absent religion, really isn't there.
I agree.
Yeah,
with
it's
that.
actually
Why would that be sneaking it in? But the people people would say that this is a problem with religion, not that it's
that they
It's
get.
not a
behind.
problem with religion. That's the most epic part of it. It's the only thing reproducing society. Your secular ethics are making
Well, then
sure that
why
we die
even
out.
live at all? Then you're a Jehovah's Witness. Why even have a birthday? Why enjoy life at all?
What does it have to do with enjoying life?
Like
Why do we
just
that
devote
women-
your life to
that-
God and a greater cause?
Why
even take pleasure in life's simple pleasures like eating chocolate cake or
it's super weird. You can't eat chocolate cake and have a family. You can't eat chocolate cake and have a family. Can't enjoy pleasures of life. Can't read and have a book. You can't do anything.
Men are so extreme. This is why men need women. It's because you guys go to like war or sleep. That there's like these are your two options. You can't do anything else. Clearly, what I'm saying is that there is a gray area here in which women don't want to be immediately responsible in their teenage years for a fucking human being, and they are going to have better kids when they are more prepared, when they are slightly older. That's all I'm saying. Generally, I think that is the case.
Your argument is slightly older. Your argument's not like 35. Your argument's like
no,
26.
Don't have children at 35. Jesus Christ. That's way too old to have.
So what do you think if you had to guess, Lav? Would you guess that these women who at 18 go out to experience the world are going to be chaste going into their marriage at 24?
Going to be chaste? What do you mean?
Yeah. Do you think that they're going to have chastity on their side, fewer sexual partners?
No. Depends on where you live, I think. Like if you live in Miami or in LA, certainly not. No.
Just on average in general, period. Anywhere on planet, anywhere in America. Do you think that a woman who goes out at 18 to like sow her oats, okay, do you think that she's going to have less or more sexual partners by the time she's 24 years old in comparison to when she's 18?
I think if I have something to do with it, she's gonna have less.
Yeah, on average, right this second.
But he's saying that you do have something to do with it, and you telling people to wait is to wait. Make it to where
if you're telling them to wait, then you're actually helping them to have more amounts of sexual partners, which then lowers their value, which you've already agreed does.
I say don't have sex during those times. I think that women should be celebrated.
Right. I know. But the problem is that they will. And since they will,
and then that's going to suck.
Yeah. So your advice to them your advice to women is actually counterproductive.
I wouldn't give only one part of the advice. I'd give both part of the advice.
Oh, yeah. Great. You would say at 18, listen, here's my advice. Don't have kids for 5 more years and go out and experience the world. Do you think that the chances of them...
No, I wouldn't say that. I'd say create a solid female community, become a member of your community, talk to older women, younger women, become a beacon, devote your life to something greater, maybe education, maybe society as a whole. Maybe
and don't have sex, all of that, right? Whatever advice you give them, whatever it is.
Sure, I'd say.
Do you think that just that 5 years would increase the risk of them having more sexual partners?
Well, at 5 years, they're 23. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably. So your advice to wait at 18 is actually counterproductive to what it is that you want to see in society, Lav.
I also don't think that there's this like the second that you have sex with a bunch of people, you're like off the market. I think it's like really person to person. I've had sex with 30 people and I'm getting married and I'm going to have a great life.
But haven't you been getting married for like 3 years?
No, we've been engaged for 2 years and I had a heart condition. So I had to have surgery and a bunch of other things. So that prevented us from getting married. We're getting married in February though.
Okay, fine. That aside, Lav, whatever the circumstances is that you personally have, I don't care. The point,
I'm just saying that if you play your cards right, if you're an intelligent woman, people.
Yeah. I mean, Lav.
Yeah, if you're an intelligent woman, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it does matter still how many sexual partners that you've had, but
right. And your advice is going to lead to more of that.
I've gotten away with a lot because of how intelligent and pretty I am, and because of how funny I am. So I'd say that if you are 25,
you have to seal the deal before you brag about it.
If you are 25,
you got to seal the deal
25 and you've created this life where you have enriched your life as a woman, and you bring more into the partnership, like your intuition, how smart you are, how sure of yourself you are, how good of a mother you're going to be. I think that matters more to high value men.
After Andrew,
hang on, let me just respond
real quick, and then I promise I'll
real quick. You're so right.
Wait, hang on, Andrew. Just hang on a second. After Andrew responds, I do once again want to give the other people a chance to talk because we haven't.
Andrew and I are making out right now. We're literally
so anyway, let me finish the point, and then I'll mute the mic. Right, but here's.
Wait, hang on. I hate muting you, but I gotta do it. So anyway, after you make your point, you can make your point as long as you want. I do want to hear from Torshire, Michael, and Tom. Okay, go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, so what Lav is saying to you here, this is what she's actually saying, believe it or not. She's saying that a young woman at 24 who goes to a high value man and says, look, I know I've read lots of books and had great experiences and stuff, but I fucked a lot of dudes. He's going to find her more valuable than an 18-year-old who goes, I'm a virgin, but I don't read too much.
I think
Yeah, okay, Lav, whatever you say, Lav. I want to go live in fantasy land like you, Lav. That sounds like a great place to go
man,
live.
first of all, high quality women don't want to marry a man who only cares about her fucking sexual history. That's fucking crazy. That is the biggest, weirdest thing to do.
Well, you're contradicting yourself.
In your life, no, high quality men means smart, high IQ, hard worker, gonna be a good dad.
They totally care about how many dudes you fucked, Lav, and you know that there's a reason why.
They don't.
Yeah, they do.
Lab, I'm going to disagree.
They care more. They care more about what you offer. They care more about what you offer to the relationship. This is just true.
Lab, I'm sorry. The data is very conclusive on this. Men care significantly more about.
And those 80% of men who are single should stay fucking single. They don't deserve
it's not 80% of men. Lab, these are hundreds of thousands.
You're like this is what these are stats that you've brought up today. You're like, most men are not the top 10% of men. Most men aren't getting pussy. And then you're like, also, most men care about how many
but we're talking about
pragmatic. A lot of women now, if you look at millennial or Gen Z women, we shame men who care about body count. That is disgusting to us.
And you can if you want, but that's not what you said. What you said was that most high value men don't care about body count.
High value to me isn't just rich. It means like high IQ.
But now it's high value to you.
You think that high IQ men? Oh, I say I'm really smart, and that means that I no longer care about how many dudes you fucked. Only the dumb men care about that.
Someone who is high IQ seeks someone else who is high IQ other than chicks.
If the argument is that you think men shouldn't care about body count, fine. If the argument is that most high value men, okay. If the argument is that most high value men don't care about body count, there is no evidence to show that. Again, the 37 culture study.
Well, there is evidence.
All 37 cultures.
No. So
all
to
37
you,
cultures.
high value. Okay, so let's clarify what high value
this is all men, period. This is over total.
No, it's not, because we know that high IQ men seek high IQ partners. But
men still, again, this idea that
they care less. I would venture to say that they care less about, and this is completely anecdotal, and this is completely my experience. They care less about your body count than they do about how smart you are. Smart men want smart, funny women.
Yeah, but if the smart men want smart women, then isn't a smart woman a woman who knows that there's value in her not fucking a lot of men?
This is also true. So this is also true. And I've talked about this before.
So if that's true, then you're still contradicting your own argument.
But I
Shut
think
up, Portia. You're wrong.
No, it's literally been just like, okay, yeah, I agree with this. No, I don't agree with that when it gets too hard. It's like, pick a fucking side, y'all. Like, it's just, this is going
Torsia, do you
just do black and white.
Do you agree with this concept?
Well, that's the point of a debate.
The high value men, the high value men, this idea, like, I'm just saying, like,
let me keep it simple. No man on this earth has ever vetted a woman for her intelligence, ever. And I will stand by it. They go strictly for
go off, queen.
Okay. That is harsh, dude. What?
I don't give a fuck.
I have a ton of female friends. Like,
we're not all JF Gary yet.
I'm sure you're very close.
Yeah, I have a ton of female friends. And my female friends, some of them have incredible attributes. Like, some of them are very smart, some of them are very funny, some of them are great content creators, some of them have artistic abilities, some of them are comedians, some of them are actresses. And I even have a few friends. I have a background in astronomy. Some of them are astronomers. Okay, they have an incredible. Yeah. If a woman did a heart transplant on my daughter, if I had a daughter and did a heart transplant, she has incredible value to this planet. Incredible value because of her ability as a cardiologist. That does not make her more attractive. I'm sorry, it doesn't. If I'm the first person to explain this to you, it doesn't. For as far as a man's penis getting harder, it does not matter to the same extent. To some men, in some extent, yes, but it is nowhere. It is 100
do not live their life based on their penis.
If high IQ men want high IQ women, and you admit that high IQ women know that men don't want a woman who slept with a lot of men, then the premise and the conclusion there is that then high IQ men must care about the body count of high IQ women, Lav.
A little bit, I think, because it shows discernment. Yeah, but I think that afterwards, like, I'm a recovered whore, so I think that I have more leeway because I've seen the error of my ways. But I think that but I think I'm apologetic. I'm a born again Christian. So I think that I am more likely to have more male. I think men are more likely to show me sympathy for that than a woman who is an active promiscuity. Correct or incorrect?
But if there's a virgin you and then there's your reformed hoe you, if a man had the choice, assuming since you guys take the other position that a man looks for other things, assuming that, do you think he would prefer you as a virgin or you as a reformed hoe?
Hold on, I don't
think that.
Just hypothetically.
That is weird.
I do not want.
Yeah, I'm
I
don't think that one. I don't want a virgin, but I also don't want. I don't want 50 either, and I don't want 100.
You're all boring.
I think part of why I'm so smart and why I'm so funny is because I have dealt with a lot of shit. A lot of that due to promiscuity.
Why you're so smart and funny.
Yeah. A lot of that due to promiscuity. I've had to pull myself out of the fucking trenches. I mean, you laugh, Michael, but to some degree, like the funniest, the most smart women I know were at one point promiscuous, and because of that.
My best friend who's female is fucking hilarious, but I don't want to date her. Like that's my point I've been trying to make. And what you're doing is
so you would call yourself high
IQ. Wait, you have a best friend who's a female?
No, my best female friend.
He's found a new target. He's found a new target.
My best female friend. My closest female friend that I talk to.
You have female friends?
I do have female friends.
Do you have a lot of female friends?
I do have quite a bit. Yeah.
Are you in a committed relationship?
I am. Yeah. Andrew, we've talked about this. I'm polygynous. We see women together.
Women as people, Michael? Come on.
They help me raise money for charity.
Well, he doesn't. Anyway. He shouldn't see you as one, maybe. Maybe the rest of the panel.
Because I'm Jewish? What the fuck, Andrew? Did you guys hear that?
How dare you
at a time like this?
How dare you be
anti-Semitic? At a time like this, you're gonna call me subhuman because of my Jewish.
We're gonna run out of time.
Why do you always dehumanize the Irish like this?
This is so horrifying.
I don't care. I do care about like.
See, I thought the whole time that the nose was because you lied like Pinocchio. I didn't actually know that it was.
And I'm looking for my next false accusation.
Okay,
I didn't make enough money last time.
Demonetized like a motherfucker now. All right, there we go. No, anyway.
All right, we covered Pinocchio. Just a 5-minute warning for this topic. Go ahead.
I do care about intelligence to some extent. I do want to laugh. I do want to have fun with my partner. I do want chemistry. I want all of these things. But I also care to some extent about body count. To some extent. Lav is the only person with above 30 that I would give a pass on that.
Thank you. Yeah. Can we say that the level of attractiveness you are, the more leeway you have in being promiscuous?
Yeah.
Yes,
no,
sure.
Hold on.
You're always compromising.
Lab. To have sex with her. Not to be a high status dude is not going to change just because she's more attractive to say, well, she's been with 50, therefore I'm just going to like look past it. No, I disagree with that.
50's a lot. But 30 is a lot. So like, I think we're talking
but
about.
But it's a lot less than 50.
No, most ranges are somewhere from like 5 to 10. For by far the majority of people, is somewhere between 5.
I'm sure my partner wishes I slept with 10 less people than I have.
So 10 above 10 for most people is a lot. Like most people don't live in Miami. So like obviously yes, we're always making compromises on all of our things, like funnier, maybe care a little bit less about that, smarter, care a little bit less about this, but that ends when we're talking about body count, that ends around like 10, maybe 15 at most for most people.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't care about body count so much, so I'll be honest.
The thing is, Lav, if the question is, would I go just 20-year-old, or no, actually, let's do this. Second lieutenant me living in Kansas, would I sleep with a woman with a high body count because I didn't care? Probably, yeah. I'd be less discerning, but I wouldn't be more likely to marry her because she's attractive if she had a high body count, unless I was extremely desperate. And to your point previously, and to the point I was trying to make before about whether or not men or women are of value to society if they've had a lot of sexual partners, the fact of the matter is the growing number of men that have 0 sexual partners. The reason why this argument is somewhat moot is because the majority of men are simps. They're in situations where they have no ability to talk to women whatsoever.
God for that. And thank
There we
God
go.
for
There
that.
you go.
I'm just kidding. No, but I mean, different strokes for different folks, right? I think we ultimately will just find our partner who has the same values as us, right? Like, I think I'm more likely to be with someone like Tom than I am someone like Michael. So it makes, like, we find our people, and we make it work.
There we go. Well, Tom, you got a shot, brother.
No, sorry, I'm off the
Suck
market.
it, Michael.
I'm off the
win,
market.
you lose.
No, I agree. I just got dunked on. That's what you just. That's what
No, like, I think I'm sure, like, you are very happy with your partner. She probably has similar values to you, and she's gorgeous. She's stunning.
We both like women. That's like one of our values. But we're also both fans of football.
All right.
Respect. And Animal Rescue. I thought you have a cat.
When you say that you're both fans of football, you say that she's pretending. She's a very good liar.
No, Pig Suey, man. She's a fucking Razorback. No, she loves SEC football. Yeah, she's Pig Suey. I'm a Longhorn. But I saw you have a cat. We're also into animal rescue. We have animals.
Me and my fiance do that as well.
They rescue pussy during the day and fuck pussy at night.
Hell yeah.
There we go. Something like that.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so let's get into closing statements. Since we went with Torsha first, let's start off with Tom.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing I said earlier. I personally, let me instead of talking about stats, I'll talk about myself. I don't care about body count so much. I do want, like, chemistry with somebody. Most of all, I want to have a good relationship with them. I do care if they're able to have a conversation with me. I do care if they're able to understand the things that I talk about on here. I want them to be able to watch these things and watch the things that I enjoy and enjoy it with me. I want I want to be able to have intellectual conversations with them to some extent. Honestly, I care a lot more about having intellectual conversations with my friends and people on here than I do with my girlfriend. But I don't want her to be stupid. I want her to be capable of understanding things at least, but she doesn't need to be, like, sitting around reading studies and bull crap and be able to, have debates with me all the time. That's not fun. But it is I probably care more about looks and my physical chemistry with a woman more than I care about my ability to have intellectual conversations with her or whether or not she's able to put on a stand-up comedy show.
All right, let's go to Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, my name is Andrew Wilson, host of The Crucible. I won't give much of a closing statement either. I guess I'll just talk about myself too. I used to value the opinions of women quite a bit until I started talking to them for a living. And then I realized that most of them were so fucking stupid, they weren't even worth having a conversation with. That's the God's honest truth. And the more of them that I've talked to, the more I have found that they don't get smarter. They just get dumber. And the further they are on the left, the dumber they are. It's impossible for me to even understand this phenomenon. I never thought it was possible. But they contradict themselves literally in their own arguments within minutes. It's baffling to me. It's literally baffling to me. And it's baffling to me that guys like Tom simp for women like this. I thought that high value men, Tom, are supposed to like high IQ women. But every time I turn around, there's a woman contradicting themselves and acting like a fucking idiot. And there's a guy like you, Tom, who just can't wait to get in and pick them up. Guy like you can't wait to pick them up. So I'm just saying, ultimately, I think that this entire fucking panel was a complete and total waste of every human being's time.
Tom, come over.
And I'll just end it with
then
this.
it won't be a waste of time. If Tom comes over, it's not a waste of time.
I'll just
especially
end
if they keep
it.
the stream going.
I'll just end it with this one last thing, which is that I appreciate the participation of everybody on the panel, even the ones who sucked, which was everybody except me. Have a wonderful evening.
Take care, Andrew.
Yeah, I feel like Andrew says that about every panel, and then, like, if you ask, he's like, "Yo, that was dope, man." But okay, let's go to Michael Sartain.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Michael. I got to leave here in a little bit to go handle some business. But hey, man, if you guys want to,
oh yeah, and it was nice to see you again, Michael. By the way,
hey, good to see you. Good to see you, Andrew. Thank you, brother. I have a podcast that gets me in a lot of deep shit. It's an offensive podcast on evolutionary psychology. I actually, this is one thing I just want to say at the end here. I have a very counter belief to most of the guys in this, manosphere, red pill space. I really enjoy the company of women. I like being around lots of women, dozens of them, and ones that I'm not even sleeping with. I actually do like being around them. And in doing so, I actually still agree with Andrew. A lot of times they just contradict themselves the whole time. I see them as just like fun people to hang out with. And some of them I meet are incredibly fucking intelligent and they're terrific. But the ones that I'm attracted to, it's because of a physical chemistry that I have with them and agreeableness and a femininity. It's not because of how funny they are. That can help. Don't get me wrong. It's a good tiebreaker. Or their level of intelligence. That's a good tiebreaker. That's a good tiebreaker. But like Leah would be my BFF. Like I can tell you right now, we'd have the incredible conversations. But I do see the difference. What I'm saying is I see a ton of value in women as human beings. But the difference is for me is like what happens is what makes a man attractive and what makes a man valuable to society tend to be the same thing. Right? He's an astronaut. He's an engineer. He's an NFL quarterback. He's attractive to women and they're valuable to society. But what makes a woman valuable to society and what makes her attractive are not the same thing. And because of that, when women see what men do and they're like, I want the same thing that men have. And when they do that, they conflate and confuse the issue. It's not because of your second master's degree, how smart you are, the fact that you own multiple homes and that you've traveled the world, that doesn't make us more attracted to you. And women are like becoming more and more confused when it comes to this specific topic. And like, I love Torsia, but and I love the fact that Torsia is a fucking incredible content creator, but that doesn't make me want to date Torsia because Torsia is an incredible content creator, but I love talking to her. Do you understand what I'm saying? The two things can be separate.
You can just say I'm ugly. Rude.
Dude,
Damn,
you're not ugly.
shots
Are you
fired.
serious? Torsia, like my girlfriend's in the room, Torsia. Like, come on,
Is she?
stop. You still got to meet her, Torsia. You got to meet.
Torsia, if it wasn't for Lyme disease, you would be a smoke show.
Wait, is it a new one?
Yeah, I actually, after everyone's
That is
done their
fucking
closing
horrible.
statements, I have two questions for the panel. They'll be relatively quick. All right, let's go to Lav.
Oh, hi, I'm Leah. That is my name. I'm still known as Lab though. My name's Leah. I'm one of two hosts for a new podcast called Bloodbath. Go follow it, Bloodbath Pod, on Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. First episode comes out next week with this girl Emily Wilson, who is Emily Saves America on Instagram. She's a Republican conservative commentator. She's the next Tommy Loren. And
Is it Andrew Wilson's sister or something? Or?
No, but it is a coincidence that they have the same last name. The Irish, they populate everywhere and they're everywhere.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's going to be super fun. Closing argument is women are better than men in every way, and I like to live in a gray area. A lot of people like to take these debates as like I'm right or wrong. Like Andrew thinks that he's God and the God of everything, and that he's always right. And I just like to be involved, frankly. I just like to be here and I like to have a little bit of fun and I like to have little conversations. So, Tom, come over. My bed is ready. And do not let Andrew around an 18-year-old girl. Thank you.
What the fuck?
Okay. Let's next go to Torsia.
That was a waste of fucking time, and I got here later. I don't have a closing argument. Can we end it?
Oh, Jesus Christ, you motherfucker. Stop complaining about the panel.
Torsia, are you still in Chicago?
Yes.
Okay, I'll come visit you.
All right,
No,
so here
I'm just
I have 1 to 2 questions, I guess, for the panel that I wrote down. So, okay, for the first one's for you, Lab. So you were saying that, or no, I forget who was saying that. Who said that men don't care about intelligence? Who made that point?
That was Torsia.
Torsia. Okay. Were you being hyperbolic or were you like dead serious?
What the fuck do you think?
Yeah, she was clearly joking, dude.
I think you were joking, but I want to make sure because I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I think she was being serious. She saw the reaction, and now it's hyperbolic. I think that's what I think.
You're still simping, Tom. You're still simping. Bro.
Calling
Stop
her
simping,
out
Tom.
for being wrong right now.
Tom,
and
you should hate
I'm
women
still
more.
simping.
Tom,
I
you
can't-
should hate women more.
I can't win.
Lav, you should love
Even
men
when I'm
more.
calling
The
them out, I'm
benevolent
still-
I love the good
patriarchy.
ones. I
The
love the good
benevolent
ones.
patriarchy, which allows you to speak into your microphone right now. You
I
should
love the
thank
good
them.
ones.
Just oozing
That's all of them.
sexuality that
All
no
of
matter
them.
what I
You-
This
do.
lovely
saying
man
that,
who decided
Tom.
to organize and host this debate. Okay, so the second thing is for Michael, since there's not much on the first one. You were talking earlier, this was, I think, during the first one, about how, and correct me if I'm mischaracterizing you, but how like a small percentage of men do like most of the fucking and most of the dating. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that-
Well, so the correct way to say it would be 20% of men get the majority of attention from women, not necessarily all the dating. Women, they get a lot more dating. Like, so for instance, if you were to stratify it, we're just going to throw a couple of studies together. One that shows 26% of men under the age of 30 with 0 sexual partners. The average, the mean is what, like 5 or 6 sexual partners for a North American man. And then above 5, the top 5% of men have 150 sexual partners. It would look like this. It would look like a hockey curve. It would look like a hockey stick if you were to do that. So what you would say is not the majority of it. Like, I'm not going to say the top 20% men do 80% of the fucking, but they do like a disproportionately high amount, maybe 45 or 50%, something like that.
Yeah, you're actually okay. I'm glad you said that, because you're actually correct. So according to a study, top 20% of most sexually active men have about 50 to 60% of the sex. That's the actual number. The red pillars always say 10% of men do 90% of the fucking, but it's actually 20% do 50, 60%. That's the real number.
So 10% of the men will get 60% of the attention. Yes. Like, for instance, Drake can't fuck every woman that wants to fuck Drake. Right. So the 10% of the men get 90% of the attention. But if you were to add up all the MLB shortstops, NBA power forwards, and fucking NFL quarterbacks and all the vagina that they could possibly get in the world, they don't have sex with all of them. Even Bilzerian, he doesn't fuck all the girls that want to fuck him. It's one of these situations where it's like there's a limit. So I would say, like you said, the top 1% probably sleeping with 7-8% of the women. And like you said, the top 20% of men, probably the top 50, 60% of women. Yeah.
I think one thing that's interesting that I don't see discussed is that when you invert it, it's actually the same thing. Like, the top 20% of the most sexually promiscuous women have about 50, 60% of the sex. So it just seems that promiscuous people will have sex with other people.
Yeah, because it's a genetic proclivity. That's absolutely right. There's actually some really interesting theories in evolutionary psychology about why people may genetically be more promiscuous. Men have promiscuity generally based on their options, and women have promiscuity for other reasons. There's several other reasons. There's one study that shows that as women, there's not a father in the home. She's more. By the way, I don't know if you guys know this. If a woman has a father who's not in the home, she's more likely to be shorter because she goes through puberty earlier, and she's more likely to have sex at an earlier age. These are studies that have been done, and a lot of times people don't like to hear this. This is at the end of the book called "Why Beautiful People Have More Daughters" by Satoshi Kanazawa and David Allen. So if you go check that out, that's horribly offensive for women's studies groups, but it's one of these things that we find that tends to be true.
Okay, yeah, I think we largely agree. I was going to kind of challenge. I was going to kind of
most
challenge
women
your
would
points,
agree that men
but
are the
everything
problem.
you said is true that I've read by studies. So that's pretty refreshing to see someone who's like more on the red pill side, who's actually like looked through their studies instead of just saying talking points.
No, I mean, to me, I love. Hold on, bro. I love the fuck out of women. I love women. My life is beautiful because women are in it. So for me, from this standpoint, I want to know the truth, and I want everyone to be as happy as we possibly can. But in doing so, from what I've seen, relationships work better when men are leading women. They just do. They just generally in long term. When a man is stronger, faster, fucking more intelligent, and makes more money than the woman he's with, those relationships tend to last longer, tend to produce more children. And so from doing that, even though I love the fuck out of women, I do see both of those things. Those are two things that can both be true at the same time. I can love women and still at the same time realize I have to lead my relationship.
Is there intelligence thing backed up by any like data or studies? Because I've never heard of that statistic.
Which one?
The fact that relationships work better when the man is more intelligent than the woman.
No. That's not a study. This is just what I've seen, and this is just what I've seen. Like whenever you ask a woman, do you want a man who's taller than you? Yes. Do you want a man who's stronger than you? Yes. Do you want a man who makes more money than you? Yes. One of the interesting things was when Rihanna was making massive amounts of money, she started dating a billionaire. This is a really interesting study. Whereas women go up the socioeconomic ladder, the men that they date, you would think, well, because I make more money, he can make less money. But it's the opposite. As women climb the socioeconomic ladder, they actually want men who make even more money, which makes the scale even more delusional when you consider in this case, like the unemployment rate for men, the fact that there's so many opportunities that, again, because of Title IX, a lot of women have moved into male-dominated fields, but men have not moved into nursing and primary education. And so the transfer of jobs has not been equal. And so and also 60% of college attendees are female, 68% of the graduates are female. So now we have a bunch of educated women who are sitting there making more money, and they're dealing with a male cohort that has no sexual experience and did not go to college. And they're just like, well, he's not better than me. So why would I marry him? Why would I have sex with him? And 80% of men on dating apps are deemed unattractive.
Yeah, it's more common
Okay,
with people
fair
with
enough.
college degrees, but with everybody else, most everybody else is dating somebody within like $5,000 of their
Most people
daily
deal within their
income.
socioeconomic.
But Tom, the reason why that is though is because that's where we are. Like I grew up in East Dallas. I didn't grow up in Beverly Hills. The people who I grew up around are going to be around the same socioeconomic class as I am. That's how, especially in the United States,
That's how you meet people.
We stratify neighborhoods by socioeconomic class. You tend to not have the mansion next to the shack. That's how it works. Although ironically, Bilzerian's house is right next to some shacks. It's kind of funny. But the thing about it is that's generally what you meet. So I don't know that stat, because I've heard Destiny use that statistic before. It's like rich people tend to marry rich people and poor people tend to marry poor people.
It is true.
Like, no. I'm agreeing with what you're saying. It's obviously the richer
true.
People care more about the age gap. Women care more the richer that they get, but most everybody in the lower spots tend to date within 5,000 of an annual.
But Tom, the reason why that is because most people are in the lower spots. There's more people to match with.
That's what I'm saying.
There's just more poor people. There's more poor people, period. I just don't think that, like, I do believe that most women who marry a man who makes $5,000 a year more than her would prefer to marry that same man if he
I'm agreeing with you.
Wait, Michael,
I'm agreeing with you that the more money they make, the more they'll start to care about this.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the definite. That's what middle class means. The middle one standard deviation, 68.27% of the population. That's what middle means. Middle class. Yeah.
Very quickly, a very interesting stat that I just found in trying to. They found, so this is a Psychology Today study, but it's Laura E. Park, 2005 or 2015, found that targets who were psychologically distant, men, were more attracted to women who displayed more intelligence than they had, by comparison with targets who were psychologically near, men were less attracted to women who were smarter than they were. So the more selfless a man is, the better, better father he's going to be, the more he wants a woman who is smarter than him. No.
Yeah, personally for myself, like I've always been like for sex, I don't care, but for like dating or relationship, I want a woman who's at least above average intelligence. I've never been in a serious relationship with a girl who was dumb.
Agreed.
Like she doesn't have to be genius. She doesn't even have to be college educated, although pretty much everyone has. But she has to be smart.
Just that's intuition. Sure.
But the term I used before was tiebreaker, and that's the way I look at it. I see it as a tiebreaker. A tiebreaker, yes, I would prefer to have someone who's more intelligent for sure.
Yeah, I just think that's funny.
But Michael,
men who are more psychologically distant, like think less of themselves, who don't center themselves in their lives, are more
Michael,
I don't know that necessarily makes them better.
Oh, come on. That's just a bunch of psychological babble.
Yeah, therapy isn't real. Psychology isn't real. Whatever. Only God.
Psychology is a soft science.
The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
No, let's go with that overly saturated soft science by women who.
Show me evidence of God, Drew.
Wait,
show him to me.
I can't show you evidence of God.
I want.
Can you show me evidence? Can you show me evidence of a single? Can you show me evidence of a single psychological depression diagnosis which can be confirmed using the scientific method?
Well, let me tell you something.
Can you do it in lab or not?
My dad was not.
Can you do it lab or can't you?
Hang on. You guys can bang it out after the show. Let me just get through this real quick.
No, Tom would be very upset if they did that.
That is true. I have one final question for Michael.
I don't care about body count.
Now I want to fly through the super chats really quick and wrap up in like 5-10 minutes. I guess there's no right or wrong answer. It's just your preference. But would you actually be in a serious relationship with a girl that you thought was unintelligent if everything else about her was good? She's super hot. She's, I don't know, whatever else you look for. She's super supportive, empathetic, like all the traits you have, but she's dumb. We're not talking like kind of dumb. We're talking about she's not like mentally disabled, but she's dumb.
So like an IQ of 80 is probably what we're talking about.
Oh God.
So for me, I'm the wrong person to ask because I study evolutionary psychology and I understand the heritability of intelligence. I don't want dumb kids. I want kids to go to Harvard and play quarterback, both things. So in that case, no, I would care. I definitely would care. But we're talking about marriage. And on the way to marriage, there's a bunch of dates and a little bit of sex, or maybe a lot of sex and a lot of different experiences. And in those cases, don't care as much.
Okay, got it. Okay, let me just fly through the super chats. Torsha, you said the trad cunts are undercover feminists, but how can it be if trad cunts are trying to take down the 19th? Just give a quick response, please.
Wait. Okay, Torsha, you've said the trad cons are under, but how can that be if trad cons are trying to take? Which trad cons are trying to take down the 19th?
I think this whole thing's supposed to be funny.
Well,
Oh,
that
they're
well,
closer.
that would be.
I think he's
They're
actually
closer
trying
than
to
you
ask
think.
you
They're
question.
closer
There's,
I think
there's
most
at least
women
there's at
are
least
undercover
one. There's
feminists.
at least one here who's trying to take down the 19th.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that they are definitely like anti-feminism for sure.
I don't know. I find that a lot of Andrea Dworkin writes a book, Right Wing Women, and she talks about the intersection between conservative women and radical feminists, how they actually are oftentimes searching for
Andrea
the same
Dworkin's
things.
a freaking crackpot. So
She is fucking crazy, but I mean, some things. Listen, some things are fucking spot on, and when they are, it's crazy.
I'm just guessing. Would it be like, for instance, traditional conservative women think the empowerment of women is having the ability to have a family and children, and feminists want the same thing? Just
No,
trying to get it a different way?
it's that the world is a very dangerous place for women, and that finding a man is advantageous to women. Finding a man to
they
protect you is
utilize
advantageous.
This is a woman. This is a feminist who believes this. Wow. Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
This is a
'Cause I could
radical
just teach-
feminist.
I could- I could
She's
just-
the radical feminist of the second wave feminist movement.
It's called the Glock 17 in a Mossberg. I'm interested. That's
You know,
interesting.
yeah,
I wouldn't
see,
expect that.
I thought that arming all women would solve the problem also, but if a woman is armed, she's more likely to have the gun taken from her and used on herself. So I think that we should make women cyborgs so that the gun is built into them and so that it can't be taken.
Well, really, because
Listen,
last time we
listen.
talked, you just said that you wanted to lower the testosterone in all men.
Oh,
I say a lot of things. I
No,
say a lot of things.
what
We
the
have a lot of
hell?
fun. We have a lot of fun.
What
Yeah.
We have a lot of
hell?
fun.
Let's lower it. It's too
Yeah, she
much.
wanted to
It's
collectively-
too fucking
she
much.
wanted to lower the
It's too
testosterone
much.
No, I
collectively in all
think
men.
lowered testosterone in the general population is a net positive on society. I think that
Right.
It's
men
a
having
bad
lower
thing.
testosterone
This is
levels.
a bad
Yeah.
thing.
I so disagree with that.
Okay, well
Yeah.
then that's
Low-
another
low
debate. That's another
testosterone
debate.
has so many bad effects.
Yeah. So
Like
so,
watching
but-
anime.
No. I'm
literally
not saying
saves
all
lives.
men should have low testosterone. I'm
but
not
most
trying to
men
make
do.
everyone
No,
transsexuals.
the problem
I'm
is,
saying that
Leah, most
slightly lower
Leah,
testosterone.
the problem is most men do have lower testosterone,
Yeah.
and the reason
lowers
why is
every
because
year.
as we've gotten further and further away from a survival scenario, men with lower testosterone are able
We don't
to
need
have
it anymore.
more kids.
People aren't killing their fucking food.
Hey,
They're not
no,
doing
it's
it. We don't
cool.
need it.
I'm sure
That's
that
a
women
massive-
are going to
that's a
be
massive
super.
misconception. So you
Women are
take
going to be
the
super attracted
so,
to all
like,
the
the
low
average-
testosterone men in lab society.
the average
Fantastic.
testosterone is
The,
like
the dominating
like-
mommy women will
wait, hang
always
on.
take
The
care
average
of their
testosterone
babies.
is like 350, 400, and those dudes.
What?
Yeah, it's low. The average testosterone in terms of
That's
bad.
the average of women in their sexual
No.
prime. 200 to
You're-
300?
We're doing like nanograms per deciliter. You're saying something incorrect.
Yeah,
Women don't go
women-
above 100. Women don't go above 100.
Yeah.
No, women don't unless they're on anabolic
I don't
steroids.
think
they
that
go above
that's
100.
true. I think
Yeah, just look it
I
up.
don't think that that's true.
You're looking at a
Just
different number. I think, Leah, you're just looking at the wrong number. For men, free testosterone, you're going to go somewhere between 200, which would be like hypogonadism.
Oh yeah,
up to
yeah.
a
You're
natural-
talking
a natural-
nanomoles. Yeah. Sorry.
A high level would be like 1100, right? That'd be a natural 1100. Be pretty
Sure.
hard to
Yeah, yeah,
achieve.
yeah.
So that's the
Yeah.
range. Women are rarely going to go above 100.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
not going to happen. But just as a quick anecdote, like with me, I had low testosterone because I had chronic Lyme disease and it fucked up with my hormone production, and I had this like basically nonstop anxiety. I was really moody, and then as soon as I got a TRT and I got my testosterone to like 800, 900, which is the optimal range, anxiety went away. I was a lot more patient, a lot more grounded. Like I think TRT literally fucking saves lives for people. And it's not just for like a small percentage of people. Actually, the majority of people, their testosterone is at the very least not optimal. But anyway, that's the last thing I'll say on that. I don't want to turn this into a TRT thing. Okay, really quick, I'm just going to fly through these time. I'll see you later in the stream. Thank you, Don. I appreciate the super chat. Okay, should men wait for sex with a born-again virgin? Yeah, so we're obviously going to all disagree on this. My answer would be no, but I think Andrew would probably say yes.
No, I wouldn't say yes.
You would not?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think.
Andrew and I discussed this on our last.
Yeah, I don't think that just because a woman is born again as a Christian, that means that her past is instantly erased, or that shouldn't be taken into consideration. That seems absurd to me.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't believe in a born again virgin, is what he's saying.
Didn't Jesus love whores?
Not a
Jesus
thing.
loved prostitutes.
Well, and what's your point?
Those
As far
are
as
some
we
of his
know,
favorite
he
people.
didn't.
Did he have
he
sex?
didn't
Did he
marry-
have sex with the prostitutes, or
Well, Jesus didn't have
did he marry him
sex.
and have sex with him, Lav?
Jesus was a chaste individual.
She just smoked
Right.
a joint
That's
with
my
him.
point. Where in the Bible does
Jesus
it prescribe
was
that you marry
non-binary,
former
asexual.
prostitutes? I don't get it. Like
No,
you're
he
gonna
was
marry.
he was binary.
I don't
Who was
understand.
that? Forgive me. I haven't read the Bible in literally like probably 10 years. But what was that one prostitute who ended up getting
Mary
married?
Mary Magdalene?
The
She's like,
conspiracy
what do you-
about him marrying her.
Listen,
Yeah,
I live
she's-
in Las Vegas. I walk down to my mailroom. I have friends that are prostitutes also, but I don't sleep with them. Like I think that's kind of
Well,
what
that's
we're talking about.
probably a good thing. But if you know that, if it was forever ago, and I'm coping. I'm a board again. I'm coping. But I just think we should listen. It's a hard world out there. Women are being pushed into positions that they would never otherwise go for.
To your point, to your point, Lab, you said it, I'm taking you at your word here because I don't know this to be true, but I'm taking you at your word. You're taking accountability for how you were before. Like you having sex with 30 partners is not an issue for me if you're my BFF. You having sex with 30 partners may be an issue for me if we're getting married. But in your case, you're saying you're taking accountability for that because you understand as your husband, he would be concerned possibly about infidelity. That's my only issue.
Or discernment issues, or like me not having.
Okay, there you go. A lack
yeah.
of judgment, maybe
Yeah.
too much drinking, some Molly, some marijuana, whatever the fuck. But you're saying you're at least taking.
No, I just didn't have a dad. Just didn't have a dad.
I guess my position on this is probably different than a lot of people, but I would say for me, like personally, I don't really care up to a certain point. It's not a hard number, maybe 20, 30, maybe 40, depends on the girl's age, depends on what she does and all that stuff. I don't like
where you live.
If I have a choice between a girl whose body counts 2 and a girl whose body counts 8, I don't really give a shit. It doesn't matter to me. I think there are better metrics to look at, like for example, her relationship with her family or her relationship with her friends. Does she fly through friends or can she maintain a job? So that's kind of the stuff I would look for. But yeah, when it gets to like really, really high, then that is a red flag. Sure.
Yeah, but that's also a red flag when you're looking for things like borderline personality disorder or sociopathy when they can't maintain friend groups for long periods of time. That's a very, very common symptom for narcissism and sociopathy when you see things like that. So those are definitely things you should look through. Those aren't necessarily for me things that are attraction triggers. What they are is they're red flags for me to stay away from. When I see stuff like that, that's where I find a complete and total lack of accountability for anything they do, an inability to maintain friend groups. And the big one for me is if a woman lies for no fucking reason, when she lies when the truth will do. That's a big issue for me as well.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. Any kind of lying is an instant deal breaker for relationships.
Yeah.
Okay, last super chat. TomFoolery claims that women come up to him and grab his genitalia constantly. Do you claim that, Tom?
I have said that this has happened, and then like that women have come up and like sexually assaulted what women would call sexual assault. That lots.
Why
of
would
times
you
they'll come
lie
up
about
and, like,
that, Tom?
grab your junk and then tons of guys in my chat were confirming yes, women will come up, slap their butts, they'll grab their junk sometimes, they'll rub their hands on their chests all the time. Like this is a normal thing for us. We don't get scared, so it's not like a terrifying thing for us, so nobody ever hears about it. But when stats come out about like this, 4 out of 5 women have been sexually assaulted. I'm saying like, the guys pretty much have similar experiences. It's just not a terrifying thing for us. And so, this happens to us as well.
It happens to me a few times, but I wouldn't say it's all the time. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
I'm getting groped by a woman who I outweigh by 100 pounds. Like I've said this to guys all the time, especially in my clients. I'm like, if you get groped by a woman, you are not to call security ever. You just walk the fuck away. You just do this. Like there is a double standard. If a woman come and gropes me, I'd just say, hey, let me move over here and go, because I'm not in physical danger. I can stop. Now, if a woman pulls a knife on me, she's getting a right cross. But if a woman, if it's anything other than that, you should, as a man, you got to walk away. It's just not the same thing. The other issue is this. I know this is kind of a different deal. Number one, film everything, especially if you're in some kind of social situation. I've almost gotten into fights every time. I always hand my phone to someone else, and I'm like, as soon as this motherfucker touches me, I'm putting him in the hospital. But you got to film it, because if you don't, that's where you're going to get yourself in trouble. And especially the same thing when it comes to like a woman and a man, and you're having some kind of altercation. If a woman starts getting violent, the best thing you can do is walk away. The other thing you can do is make sure you film the entire interaction so that you get in a situation like, what was it? It was a Courtney Taylor, the woman in Miami who murdered her boyfriend.
Fuck.
What was her name?
Clemmy. Courtney Clemmy.
No,
or
Stott.
something.
Yeah, Climby. That Stoughton is. She didn't kill her boyfriend.
She
but
was the one that was dating the older guy, but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I just saw Courtney.
There's
Stoughton
nothing
the
wrong
other
with
day.
that, by the way. Nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. Courtney Stoughton married
Yeah.
16, 50-year-old Doug Hutcherson. Nothing wrong with that.
She
Andrew.
was a child.
My
She's very happy. She's very happy. She's very happy.
Yeah,
She's
my
very
biggest
happy.
problem to answer to
I
the
was
super
literally at a
chat.
party with. I literally was at a party with Courtney Stoughton the other day, and it's interesting. I didn't put that two and two together. It was the same person. But the issue is like going back to what you're saying before. If there is a level of violence, what I tell guys all the time is you should film every single fucking thing you can, because we're getting into a world right now where people have no compunction against lying against you. Look at the Nikki Hill situation with Trevor Bauer. Do not get caught in that situation. Film fucking everything. That's my advice to you, so that we don't get into this situation. And the people who are liars get called out for being liars.
Well,
Yeah, I wasn't saying that this
what
happens all the
happens-
time. I was just saying that
yeah.
this, like, it especially happened when I was in like high school.
What happens to
in
me
college
is like I have this
The
woman
problem
around
for
all
Tom
the time
is
who
his flong is so humongous that girls.
yeah
see
no
all-
hang on I do have experience with this too. I have a woman who gets me drunk constantly. Okay, then I'll just wake up next to her, and I know that things happened. Okay, and I feel violated constantly, and there's nothing I can do about it, Lav. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it. She gets me
Rachel
drunk,
was
Lav. She gets me
getting
drunk
exposed.
all the time, Lav.
Rachel's
terrible.
getting exposed hard. Rachel,
I would like to
Terrible.
say also, like,
going to
like Grace.
I don't
has
know
to
how
take
I'm gonna
the L
make
for
it.
That's probably the
She
only
was
way she can
hoping-
deal with you, to be fair.
Grace was hoping that
That
guys
was
would
not a
say
witty
this didn't
retort.
happen.
Not a
Grace
good
was hoping
retort.
That everybody would say this doesn't happen.
let's
Grace
get
is
you to
taking
a
the
safe
L.
house.
And
Andrew.
a much higher percentage of men have experienced this than there are women who have maliciously Me Too'd other men like Grace has. So, yeah, she's got to take a couple of L's here.
All right. Anyway, guys, this was a fun debate panel, despite Lav and Andrew, or sorry, not Lav. I keep picking on you, but it was Andrew and Torsha saying it was a waste of time. I thought it was good. I enjoyed
No,
this.
we were joking, man. We were joking.
Yeah,
By the way,
I'm always-
Torsha, nice to see you again too. I haven't seen you since the
Yeah.
last panel we were
Nice
on.
to see you too. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so I want to give everyone a quick chance just to mention where they can find them. I know some of you guys did that, but just really quickly, just give a one sentence, like, hey, you can find me here. Let's start off with you, Tom.
Yeah, my name's Tom. I go by TomFoolery Show on YouTube. Mostly do debates, hold panels similar to this, cover lots of different topics, and I know most everybody here, they're on my shows pretty regularly. Michael, nice meeting you. I haven't met you before, but I would love to talk some more sometime.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, you guys can find me on Tom's channel actually fairly often. I would say maybe once or twice a week around 2 a.m. So if that's some extra incentive to check it out, I'll go on there and we'll shoot the shit for hours. Okay, Andrew?
Yeah, my name is Andrew Wilson. I'm the host of the one and only Crucible, fastest growing debate channel on the internet, at least to my knowledge. I appreciate Alex having me on again. Looking forward to doing more content like we've been doing. We're also meeting up finally in Texas tomorrow. Interestingly enough, we're going to
Not tomorrow. My flight gets in on Saturday.
Oh, Saturday. Okay, well, I'll see you Saturday.
Cool. Yeah. Even though me and Andrew disagree on a lot of shit, he's a good dude. I would say he's a friend at this point, and he does really good debates and really good moderation. I've never had an issue with his moderation, so definitely check out his channel. Okay, Michael?
Hey, Andrew, would you moderate a flat Earth debate between me and somebody? Would you
Yeah.
do that? That'd be great. I've done like several of them, and they get really out of control. Anyway,
Yep. I will
I'm
take
not
care
gonna-
of that, Mr. Sartain.
wanna
In
do it
fact,
too.
my
I know.
audience has been going nuts that I need to do one of those, and I've stayed away
Yeah.
from it because I just thought it was kook shit.
I
But I'm
hate
like, you
those
know what? I'll do
debates
it.
so much.
I'm going to do one anyway. So that actually sounds like it would be the right thing to, right timing for you. So
Yeah, it's madness. You have to do a ton of study, because if you have a normal person go up against a flat earther, the flat earther will kill you just because he'll say a bunch of kooky fucking conspiracies that you have to spend hours to look up and to counter. Anyway, my name is Michael Sartain. I have a podcast about physics, evolutionary psychology, finance, dating, several other topics. I'm a former U.S. military officer, and I also host a live stream that I do for the Men of Action mentoring group that I have. We teach men leadership skills, networking skills, dating skills, and communication skills. And then I also have a show called Access Vegas I do with Rollo Tomasi every other week. And yeah, that's pretty much what I do right now. And I'm here hosting Swimsuit USA's World Championship in Mexico.
Cool. Yeah,
Hey, Michael,
and,
can you put your Discord handle in the private chat on the side?
I'd be happy to connect all of you. Just text me.
Okay. Instagram's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to connect everyone who wants to be connected. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Michael is a good dude. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of his co-host, his show is good. I watch a good amount of it, and it is good content. All right, Lav, and then Torsha.
Imp.ish on TikTok, Lavloon on Instagram. My name is Leah Jane. I have a podcast coming out, Bloodbath Podcast with Emily Wilson. I am anti-sex work, former sex worker. I call myself a feminist. I don't know how I accidentally got involved in all of these debate panels. I like doing it, and they're fun. But I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just a little personality online. So come follow me if you want to laugh and cry and scorn all women, or if you like women. I don't know. So yeah.
All right, let's go to Torsha.
At Torsha on every social media platform. Honestly, I'm changing some of the content I'm doing, but I haven't announced it yet. But if you'd like to watch commentary, I do that sort of a thing. Former bartender, so I have experience seeing everybody doing crazy shit at the bars. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, cool. Appreciate you all. This was a fun debate. Yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate the support from everybody, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a good night, guys.